What the proposal is to have two separate ones because they can't do it all on one property. So they're gonna have, the separate containers, and then as the batteries die down, like all our batteries do on our cell phones or whatever, they're gonna add more batteries so they can continue storing the same amount. Like we do on our cell phones, they die down and they don't have to be recharged more often.
So they're just gonna hook up to it, they're not gonna remove and replace,
Right.
they're adding.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, they probably have a life expectancy, they're gonna replace them eventually?
Yeah, they probably will, as they haven't given us that because they don't know exactly which batteries they're gonna use, so, it's a question.
And this will,
All right.
this is off the chart, will be gated in, nobody can.
Yeah, okay, so let's start a little bit with just introductions, just so everybody else who's at home does. Okay, so, plan, ERB, just, John.
John Lipinski, ERB member.
Carol Lascos, ERB member.
My name's Chris Haley, I'm an ERB member.
Neil Halloran,
Louis Dogs.
and
Peter Eastop, chief of the Hall Fire Department.
Chuck Campoody, second assistant chief of the fire
okay,
department.
so actually, you're probably being recorded over that one, but anyway.
We're pretty informal here.
So,
Okay.
so we kind of gave you an introduction as to what is being proposed here and where it's being proposed. And so we had concerns, we never had this before in the town. The only thing, the closest thing we've ever heard of anything like this is Warwick.
Yeah, and I've reached out to the war chiefs.
Okay, let's hear that.
They have their SOG, or what they've been told by the company who has the two batteries is not to respond, stage, and it's stage at their firehouse. That's it.
And don't touch them.
Don't touch them.
Yeah.
That's, cause from what I've heard and been told is they're supposed to just let them burn out also. So,
So
Okay.
if that's, and if that is true, going past that, just let them be and let them burn, my big concern is the population around it.
Mhm.
You're right, New Leaf Energy is the company that is presenting this as a project for the town. They've been in to speak to planning twice and the town board once. They do have some specialists they've brought in. The fire specialist is a retired FDNY lieutenant, he came out of special ops, and he said exactly what you just said. The plan is to let the fire consume itself, which was a heck of a way to say let it burn, right?
Everything else around it.
Mhm.
Right.
So this is the first that you guys are hearing about this?
I've been back and forth with New Leaf or Terrence, I think the
Yeah,
guy.
Terrence is correct.
I've been back and forth with him by email. We were supposed to do a Zoom meeting. It was just, our schedules just didn't match up.
Okay, so you know about it.
Yeah, we knew about it, and I told him we needed to really sit down and talk about this more. And last I've heard from him was when I emailed him back saying, we can't, Pete was busy and the other
Sure.
chief was busy. That was on May 21st.
So, Chief Campoody, this is not done just yet.
Yep.
We're the environmental review board,
Mhm.
we advise the planning board has to decide whether or not they're gonna go forward with this project, but we need to ask the questions they don't know to ask, this is all new technology.
Yeah.
Right.
So, as we found ourselves at the last meeting with a lot of questions and no answers, that's why we said, hey, let's reach out to the professionals, so we really appreciate you coming in. That said, as Neil was saying before, this project, this one is planned for Hartley Road, and we have some residents nearby, and then we have some sensitive facilities nearby. You talked a little bit about the Warwick facility, which caught fire. You said you spoke to the chief there, could you fill us in a little bit more on that?
Did they evacuate?
They didn't, I believe they did have an evacuation because they both burning at the same time.
Yeah.
They both caught on fire, a day apart from each other. And their thing is they're told to stage and let itself burn out.
How long did it take for them to burn?
I think it was a few days.
It was a few
Yeah,
days,
it
I
was
think,
a
but I'm
while.
not 100% sure on that. Cause I was asking about their SOGs or their SOPs on it to kind of see if they had something in writing, so we could kind of look it over, especially if we did get this, we would have something on the book and kind of mimic what they would have.
Yeah.
Do you have?
So when they did evacuate,
Yes,
who tells the residents it's safe enough to go back and when? Did they go back 2-3 days later? Did they
I-
go back
Probably
hours?
the DEC, I
The
would think.
DEC and probably the county hazmat, or the hazmat specialist, I don't know if it was the county, I don't know if it was the state at that point,
So people can't even go back to they couldn't even go back to their houses.
not until they're told of, it's safe
That
to go
they-
back.
Okay to breathe the air is the biggest thing, is, the air.
Right.
Um,
Which, right across from me is a gentleman who flies balloons, so he knows all about the air and the travel and stuff.
Right. And then, I mean, it just doesn't look like it's that close to Tam's buildings, but I thought doesn't he like store,
He's got, right here, he's got fuel.
right, I mean, no.
Yeah, that's my,
Oh, God.
I agree to it, and I don't know how far away it has to be.
So now this only says is that
It's like 117, that's what it looks like. No, 17 feet.
17 feet away
Seven-
from,
No, that can't be right to there. It's gotta be measuring something in here.
oh, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
20 feet, so that's,
That-
that's maybe.
So,
20
so the
feet.
point, I mean, they're inside of just, I think, basically storage containers, or shipping containers. And I know that I saw pictures from up in Jefferson County, when they had that fire, the same year, 23. And there they burned through the roof. Okay, so it's a hot fire, as I understand.
Oh, yeah, no, and now are they gonna be in steel buildings, what are they gonna be?
No, right now, all they're proposing is to store, the shipping container. They're gonna put it inside a shipping container, and that's gonna be it.
It's supposed to be reinforced and withhold everything, but, I
Yeah.
mean,
Is it gonna have like?
If it's, is it air sealed?
well, it can't be, because they have to run.
Yes,
cooling
yes it is, but then they're gonna have ventilation, because obviously, I think as you know, when it starts to burn, it creates hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you contain it in there, it's gonna be an explosion.
Right,
So I think what they're trying to do is get enough ventilation to evacuate the hydrogen as it's being
it
produced.
just goes up into the atmosphere and everybody else.
And everybody else sucks it down, right? And so that's what, and whatever else is in there, and I know there's other carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, whatever. There's a number of things in there that are coming out, and from what I understand, and you can tell me better, even on car fires with his batteries, I think you're supposed to have full breathing apparatus on.
Every-
All the time.
Yeah, any car fire is supposed to be.
Okay.
That's the worst stuff to breathe in.
Yeah.
But has Tam had any input on the proximity of his fuel tanks?
This is Tam's property, Tam's telling them where they can use it.
Oh.
So he's leasing it to them. If he didn't want it there, he could tell them, no, yeah, I'm not leasing it to you.
Unless like he's gonna move the tank,
Okay.
but
That's
that's-
not what's proposed.
okay,
They're not talking that yet, and,
well,
but,
I'm just saying, if they
Now,
did,
these
yeah.
are on the ground or are they above?
no, they're above ground. Right, Louis? I think they are. The fuel tanks. I
They're
think.
above, but
Yeah.
they're in,
One of those things if they leave.
yeah,
How many gallons do you think it is?
I don't know.
I think it's a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 10,000 gallons.
Just this fuel stuff.
yeah.
The thing about these battery energy storage systems is, from what we've been told and the material we've been provided with, what causes the problem is a thermal runaway. They're just too confined, they get really, really hot, and they catch fire. Then, it's not your typical fire, this is a chemical reaction. So it makes its own oxygen. So even what, we say in the service, copious amounts of water
It's not gonna put it out.
doesn't do it.
No.
And this is why the stand back and watch it burn approach, which as firemen,
Well,
it's
we
just
would,
not in your
for something
programming.
like this, we would. Now, are they gonna have like shut-offs somewhere between the batteries and the power lines?
Certainly, I think they have to, in fact, they have to, I would think, and I think the shut-off should be outside of this
Way
area.
outside.
Sure. Hey, you don't wanna be close to get,
No,
let's get within 10 feet of it, shut it off so we can get further away.
right.
No, I think it's gotta be way out.
Mhm.
And what you're gonna want that way is you're gonna want no electric coming either way, no coming off the grid, no
Right.
going
Yep.
back to the grid.
But that's something they're gonna discuss with
Well,
you
they
if you
should.
have your meeting.
Yeah,
This is just,
I'll try to get that in plan, so at
Well-
least we can,
Yeah, right, it has to be, you know,
we can begin on both, like, they can at least talk to us a little bit, we can ask more questions at least, and,
well, there's no reason why they couldn't provide us with like an MSDS sheet. on
Sure, there's
Yeah.
an MSDS and everything is gonna be on that
What to
property.
do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's theirs, they should know what to do.
Yeah.
Well-
Yeah. Go ahead, Louis.
supposedly they're gonna build it and then sell it. Just to
Sell
keep
this.
Well, they're gonna have the approval, they're gonna get the approval at least, and then they're not, the people in front of us right now, Terrence, is not gonna have anything to do with the running of it. I'm not even sure he's gonna build it, but he's gonna walk away. Now, I understand the new fire code coming out, and I haven't seen it, is that the people who own this or run this will have to respond to a telephone call within 15 minutes, and then theoretically be able to have somebody here on site within 4 hours.
Because when you talked to the guy, he was like in another state, wasn't he?
Terrence, I believe, lives in Warwick.
Yeah, I think he does.
Warwick, yeah, I've talked to a lot of people
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, I
And
think
going back and
Terrence
forth,
is a
I
local
believe
guy.
he's in Warwick,
Yeah,
so he's 20 minutes, roughly.
but he's not gonna be, he's gonna be away from there once he has his bill.
Yeah.
But the problem that lies is that once the call comes in, Goshen starts getting ready to respond, you don't know what you're responding to on Tony's property. It won't specifically probably say, like, what was it, last month, Chet's building was on fire, we thought it was the garage, but winded up being Mikey's house.
Yeah, that's my-
Now you're turning everybody away, and how are you warning the people
Well, we
around
might
there
stay-
at
well,
1 in the
that's-
morning?
Well, that's my big thing, I don't care if this thing burns.
How you gonna let everybody know?
Right,
Sure.
and I wanna make sure my guys don't go in,
Right.
and we get everybody that's affected, we get them out. That's, I care less about that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not worried about saving
the
the
businesses
property.
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the other thing,
Businesses
obviously,
around.
Yeah.
that's the other,
Especially during the day.
Well, because
Yeah.
I was telling them, like Healy, if they got central air, they're sucking in the air, and now their people are gonna be working inside the building, even if it's burning for a couple of days.
Yeah.
yeah, Tony has
Something like
people
saying
in both
far
these
away.
buildings.
Right.
You got the
They're
jail
definitely-
is gonna have their system running.
Yeah.
You got Mid-Hudson Psych Center is gonna have their stuff
Right.
going on. Like Louis said, you got Healy's, you got, whatever is that?
Depending on how.
If it
Well,
goes,
electric
the wind
vehicle.
goes that way, if it goes the other way, now you're dealing with New
That's
Hampton.
there now, so.
Yep, bunch
Yeah,
of residents right
Yeah,
on.
you got everything there.
And the other thing is, you know, we got Soon's Orchards right next to us. If any of this contamination lands on their apples or whatever.
Yeah.
So I can tell you guys, I've said it from the beginning, I don't want this in Goshen, just so we're clear about that. I do not want it in Goshen. They're looking for a way to for it to happen in Goshen. I don't think this is the right spot, I don't think it belongs in Goshen. You guys have a lot of say in this as well.
Well, they're gonna provide us with a lot of information before we say this is okay.
But I wouldn't
For
believe
us.
their information, because they're just feeding you.
Well, if they'll give us the information, then we'll go back and we'll research it
Okay.
and
Yeah, we're
make
not,
sure,
this
we're not gonna
is,
just take their,
Advice.
you know,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We're gonna have a meeting with Warwick and find out
Mm.
what they did,
Exactly.
because they have experience with it.
yeah.
So at this time, chief, does the Goshen Fire Department have a standard operating procedure in place to deal
With this?
with
No.
this? Okay, that's perfect,
Absolutely
that's,
not. I could confidently say that we don't have the equipment to put that out.
there's another one, of my question, is, would the department require new or specialized equipment for this kind of emergency?
Depending on what the battery manufacturer tells us would contain it or put it out. Depending on what they tell us we need, we would obviously need that.
So I'm going with possibly, you would need
Right.
new equipment,
Mhm.
and then goes, same thing for the training.
Mhm.
You would have to train
The company
members.
Yeah.
should provide all members with,
They would have to come
Animal
in.
training.
They're required to do the training, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and they would be yearly, if they'd
Yeah,
be told
yeah.
they're coming in yearly to do all
Yeah.
this.
Who does the budget for the fire department?
the commissioners
The
mostly,
commissioners?
with the chiefs, yeah.
So you would have to liaise with them to find out how much the training's gonna be, how much the equipment's gonna be. This is all, right, because this all falls back down to the taxpayers.
Right.
It's part of what we do here, and we just wanna get good
Unless you-
information.
No,
Make the company provide that.
Exactly.
the company must
Yeah.
provide the training, so that's
Yeah.
gotta be in their
And
budget.
That would be in their
And
budget, so
everything
that
else.
wouldn't come anything
Right.
out of our training budget or anything like
They
that.
they might have special phone that'll put this out.
Yeah.
From what they've told us, again, let it burn.
Just let it
That is
burn.
their answer to it.
But I think they haven't said that you can't put it out. They, I think, would say that yes, you could put it out. What does happen apparently is reignition.
Mm-hmm.
And reignition up to 7 days is fairly common. From what I was told at the training session at the training center, 31 days is record right now for reignition. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the lieutenant that was making the
What's his
presentation,
name?
John Cassidy. He was the one who came in from the state. And then Victor Groves, anyhow, they were who were there at the training session. And that was just very interesting. Because they were saying even, because apparently on cars you use water to put.
Purple K. Well, it depends on,
Yeah,
if there's Purple K with a small battery,
Right,
you could control it with Purple K.
Right, that's what I had heard too, is Purple K is one chemical that probably does it.
Right.
So why not, why wouldn't you wanna consider Purple K for each container? I mean, it's like an
as
answer
far as-
system.
Well, I mean, they could try that, you know,
So,
they could try that. Or if this thing is actually closed, like you say it is, they could, if they provided like piping and stuff, you just fill the whole thing up with water.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is, so that's the two ideas I had was Purple K, because I heard Purple K might be it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, hey, put like essentially a dry hydrant system in there, you could hook up and then just pump it in, sprinklers are, wide open.
Yeah.
It's gonna come out the vents.
Sure, it's gonna come back to vents at some point, but
And does the water make it worse?
And plus we got the walls going over,
Right.
Sure.
he's on an aquifer, so.
no, but we, you're right, but we could make
We
them,
could contaminate a lot more
A
of
lot
the
more.
environment trying to.
Right.
So the other question was, as this thing is burning, you guys are staying away.
Mhm.
Understood. We're just gonna let it burn. What's gonna happen with the vegetation around it? Who's gonna,
Well,
you
depending
know
on.
where it's going, so,
Right, depending on how
the wind,
big it is,
right?
if we'll get as close as we can and keep the, vegetation wet. I'd be concerned about Tony's,
yeah.
buildings.
Yeah, the next question for Tony is what else is he gonna store in there? Right now, he's storing stuff up here, so he's gonna move some of that out. But I don't know how
Cause I
far,
thought he parked a lot of trucks back here.
he actually has stuff in here right now.
But Tony's place can't spread. It's contained. If this stuff gets into the woods, now you've got a brush fire, you got a forest fire going that you guys can't go to put it out because you're told to stay away.
Right.
So it can just do a Warwick thing and just start expanding all the way out.
Mhm.
Tony's places are on gravel and blacktop, so if it jumps from that to a building, that's what's burning.
Right.
It's not spreading out anywhere.
Right, but what could happen is whatever vehicles, I'm thinking, this could be a whole parking lot here with vehicles, in
Sure.
which case I don't really think we want it there, but I don't know the
But
answer.
he's not gonna have time to go there and
No,
move it
he's not
because
moving
he's
it.
No,
not
but
moving it.
But maybe the answer is no parking, fire zone, whatever the heck we wanna, no, you can't park here, period. Certainly, we're gonna wanna make this access area very much marked that, hey, nobody can park here ever.
It is good access for us.
Yeah, it is, but right now, this is not marked on the road, on the property, saying you can't, have to stay out of there, nor is this. I mean, I don't think they do for the most part here, I've never seen them blocking it all into here. But back here, it's all over the place sometimes, from what I see.
if that helps, that's a picture of Tony's place just not too long ago, and you can see that,
Yeah, they got all those trucks in the
so
back.
all of that will be moved, but
But the question is, how far away do we need to have it moved, is the question, kinda.
that tank that he's got there, there's a big tank, so I'm sure they can be moved if need be, but, I'm not saying it's a permanent structure, but it's pretty permanent.
The fuel,
The fuel farm.
it appears that way, yes.
And he's got it under roof, and
Yes.
it's a considerable expense, which, again, I don't think this company doesn't seem to be sparing any expense, but from a fire department perspective,
Sure.
this is real life, this is what's there now, what needs to be moved.
Considered.
Mhm.
So when the time does come to put it out with a fire, would it be better if he had a tank of water on site? 15,000 gallon
If
tank?
that's what the battery manufacturer says to put it out with.
Once again, they
Yeah.
keep saying, let it burn.
Just let
They
it
want
burn,
this
but
thing
for
to
you
burn.
guys to help
Let's
put it
go.
out easier.
Extinguishes itself.
I mean, I know
water
the
tankers,
walk goes right
doesn't
there, but.
He has water tanker, but I'm not necessarily, he doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
have
right.
him have him sitting there waiting for this to burn.
Yeah, and then you gotta
I
fill
mean,
them up.
we have tankers too, but the question is, how close are you gonna be able to get to this
Right.
safely?
You had a number, tell them the number of gallons of water.
Well, it was 3,000 gallons is what I heard to put out a car fire with the battery.
With those
What I
batteries.
heard in California, I don't know how big that one was really, but it was the same kind of a thing. They were using 5,000 gallons a minute.
Moss Landing
Oh my
that was a
A minute.
catastrophe.
Mhm. But on the other side is, where's this contaminated water going?
That's.
Exactly.
So we can almost treat, I think, we could almost treat that the same way we do with some of these fuel tanks, where we have the containment around it. So we could,
5,000 gallons, you're not gonna be able to contain
Well, that
5,000
right
gallons.
I can almost make them put it,
Like in one of those.
yeah,
You have to be
I could almost put it in a basement.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you're putting
Yeah.
more than 5,000 gallons in there.
No, I'm talking about, I'm talking, all right, so we have a 1 acre thing, put a 1 acre, we could theoretically, and I'm not saying it should be done, but we could take the whole thing, 1 acre, and it's a 4 foot deep basement, essentially, foundation.
Again, we're talking about a chemical fire, we're not talking about the typical fire triangle where you've got heat, fuel, air,
Take the oxygen away,
Right,
you're not
we're-
doing that.
and that's what, we're talking about a chemical fire, this is why you use the purple K, breaks the chemical
Right.
reaction.
However, the training, yeah, I agree with you, but a lot of training is water works the best. In fact, that thing at the training center, water works the best, before they said purple K. I know with the smaller stuff, apparently, you can put it in some kind of container.
They'll pack it in, sand, you
Yeah.
typically, or submerge it in water.
Been patiently waiting to chime in.
I have an answer about how much gallons of water it took for the California fire.
How many?
Over 50,000 gallons.
50,000, that's
That's-
lots
yeah,
of
How
I
big,
guess
how
so.
big of an area
Thank
was
you.
it that was on fire?
I can do a little more, hold on.
This poor kid, we put him to work all the
That
time.
doesn't seem like a nut for the area you're covering.
So we carry about 6,000
Yeah.
gallons, so we would need 10 times the
Yeah.
amount of
I
water.
mean, theoretically, it's possible. I know, like, behind the hacienda, they have a sunken water tank in the parking lot there. So they have 20,000 gallons, so we could do a 20,000 gallon underground.
I would imagine this would also be like a foam operation, you don't start it until you've got everything you need on site,
Mhm.
because once you break that foam blanket,
It's not,
It's not.
okay.
we start all over.
And so I think that might be along the lines of why they're saying let it burn, which is very difficult for firemen to hear.
Well, no, I got no problem with that, as long as nobody around the area is
Yeah.
getting hurt.
Well, that's, okay, and I know Louis asked about evacuations and such. Does the Goshen Fire Department, has the Goshen Fire Department ever had to do an evacuation for a reason?
We work with the police if it comes down to that, because we're gonna need a lot of people to do that.
Sure.
So the sheriffs would get involved, the
If
town, the
Yeah.
troopers.
every known police agency,
Yeah,
ended up in Greenwood Lake,
Yeah.
where they had to evacuate a whole
Yeah.
area. I was up there 4 times during that week, and they evacuated 3 sections with all the help from the PD units. PD
Mhm.
handled the evacuation. The fire department really didn't handle it, that's a police, cause the police is going in telling them, you have to leave.
Yeah,
The fire department, we can't,
They can say,
That-
they're gonna laugh in our face and shut the door.
I wouldn't laugh in your face.
The cops are gonna show up and they're gonna go, you need to get out of the house, this is why, and okay, and then they got everyone out.
Okay, we do have residents on
If you have
Chichon.
a structure fire
Yes,
with houses around it, do those people have to get out?
we tell them all the time, get out of the house, and, cause then if we're fighting a structure fire, the lines on the outside, and Louis knows this from the experience being in the firehouse, is that you put lines on the outside of the houses to cool down the side of the house, make sure they're happening, like, nothing would happen. And we would also go in and make sure that the houses were fine,
Mhm.
and no extension to those houses, front, back side, top to bottom, to make sure everything was good.
Yeah.
But everything else is, we're still gonna fight that fire, but we're gonna make sure the other 2 houses are fine.
So up in Jefferson County, apparently they had 4 different containers, and it started out in one container, and then spread to all 4. Now, it didn't spread like a traditional fire spreads. And so the guy from the company here said, yeah, it did happen, but we think something else is going on. Well, okay, if it spread to all 4, I want that to happen again.
Mhm.
So I don't know what happened, but that was their concern. It did happen.
Well, on the one hand, I'm happy that we don't have all the answers, because if you had all the answers for us, that would have mean that you have been through the catastrophe. We haven't had this type of system in Goshen yet, so we haven't had to deal with it. But I think what we're looking to find out is what you've told us, along with other agencies, we need to present to the planning board to let them know you need to have these procedures in place if you're going to do this, because unfortunately, these things do catch fire. By the way, they're getting better. They're not catching fire as often as they used to, but they still catch fire.
Mhm.
Just January, Moss Landing in California, right?
Right.
He's got another answer for us.
I read the wrong thing. That
Yeah.
was a Tesla semi-truck fire.
Uh-huh.
I can't find exactly how many batteries or how much water it took to put out the fire, but it had over 13,000 megawatt hours. And it burned up over 75% of the batteries.
Yeah, so it took like an ocean to put this thing out. It was, and they're still to this day, they're having health issues,
Mhm.
everything that we get when we get an electrical fire, the burning, the heavy lungs,
Mhm.
all that stuff. It was a catastrophe. we don't make the plan whether or not this thing goes in, but we advise, even though we have opinions, but we have to advise the board with, this is the information, now go ahead and make a decision.
So like
As
Carol
many
said, it's
as-
something that the taxpayers are gonna have to pay, and I don't
Actually,
think it's
it's
right
funding it.
that they have to foot the bill in case they make a mistake or
Right.
there's a problem.
Mhm.
So if you guys came up with, we need this apparatus, we need this, that, and the other, here's what it's gonna approximately cost you, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever. That should be thrown to them and told to the board, that way the taxpayers do not pay for this.
What the answer's gonna, the wording's gonna be that we, basically, we can't go ahead with this until this equipment's available. And,
And the personnel.
yeah, and the personnel, so,
Okay.
and that's another thing. And let's be honest, the honest thing is, there are other places in the area, not in the area, other places in New York State have had this proposed, and they've turned it down based on the fact that their fire department was totally volunteer, and they wasn't sure they could manage enough to do it.
Well, still,
I-
You can rely on mutual
20
aid.
days,
It's
a
not-
major challenge.
Right, exactly.
We might be standing there by ourselves.
So no fires during the day.
We just won't allow it.
That's right.
As a community, lay people in the community, including myself, what is the purpose of this?
The purpose of this is that we are generating, by design, the state has all these solar farms and everything else that we're producing all kinds of electricity during the day, that, we have to store somewhere, or we just can't use it all at the same time, at the time it's being generated. So,
Don't they have storage at the actual solar farm?
no,
These huge-
no, not all of them do, no,
I've seen a lot of them.
sure, a lot, some of them do.
The way New Leaf
No,
explained
there
this
is
is
one on
they're taking
West
power
Yeah.
Behind
at
The
night,
first one,
storing,
no,
letting
yeah,
it go
I think you have
down.
one,
Oh, no,
Where
there
we
is
had the
one
brush fire.
behind the, up behind off left,
that,
Dykeman
that
Fire.
battery?
They got a battery storage unit.
No, it doesn't have batteries, it's just. solar
They're actually
farm.
coming next week.
Actually, I think you also have batteries on, right on.
So they're
Pulaski
coming
Highway.
next week to see you guys about putting battery storage behind Dykeman's?
No, there is already one up there, I believe.
I don't think there's batteries on
No, I don't think there's batteries there. I
There's-
think you do have
there's
one, but I-
containers
Solar
up there.
behind it, yeah.
Really?
There's
Then they
containers
snuck
up there.
them in.
They snuck them in, exactly.
I-
Yep.
Because when we had the brush fire up there,
Yeah,
when I pulled in, there was containers sitting there. That looked like they'd been there from the start, but
I didn't think there was supposed to be batteries, but you might be right. I think there's one on Pulaski Highway too, that first one,
there's
I
one on
think-
I don't think
Plaza.
there's batteries in there either.
What about the Owens Road one?
Owens Road, no,
There's a
there were
lot
no
of
batteries approved there. They had no, they yes and then no, so there should be no batteries there.
Have you been there? I saw a whole boatload of them
Of,
the other day.
Batteries?
These big units
I don't
going in.
know, I'm trying to picture which one, but we have 3 of them up there now, with 3 going there.
Well, the
Looks like
first
Frank has to
one
make his
coming
rounds.
down, there was a lot of batteries, and they were being delivered that day, because
Mhm.
they unfortunately came into my farm first.
I know
and
the
said,
people who, AES or ASE or whatever
Yeah.
the company name is now. I've been in contact with them, the gentleman is coming in late Monday. And he's gonna meet with some of our guys during the day. And I was like, dude,
Was
half
that
of us
Monday or
work
Tuesday.
Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Most of us work during the
Yeah.
day.
It's gonna be, do it 3 different times.
Trust me,
Look, we can, if we approve it, we can certainly make the stipulation that you will offer training at 3 different times at the convenience of the fire department. Because you're right, everybody works different shifts, different times, everything else.
all our drills are one night.
Mhm.
Well, getting off topic off of this real
Yeah.
quick, with the solar farm up behind Goshen Station 3
Mhm.
on 10 Lakeman Drive, there, I think it's 2475, 17A. They are coming in next week because we had to cut their fence to get
Yeah.
into the fire.
Mhm.
So, and after being up there, I was like,
What is it?
what is all this info that
Yes.
we've never been in,
Mhm.
we've
Yeah.
never trained on?
Yeah.
And trying to get these guys to doing on a drill night is like pulling teeth.
And they weren't even in this state.
They weren't in the state.
Yeah,
I
they-
talked to someone in Colorado Springs and
Yeah,
or
that was,
Utah, and then the guy was in Colorado Springs and calling me.
yeah,
And then the guy I've been dealing with is in Ohio.
right. What happened was that was sold, whoever had it originally sold it to somebody else, and we had a tough time figuring out who it was. Because we weren't updated as to who it was.
I found out for you. Don't worry. It's okay
Good,
that part.
I understand we got that, but at first it was, who the hell is it?
Yeah.
Chief, I was surprised to learn that the planning board does not liaise directly with the fire department on these projects. And I think for many, many years, homes, developments and such, they were all pretty small, and it was everything within the capabilities of the Goshen Fire Department and even with mutual aid. Now, we're talking about this battery energy storage system, which is, it's a lot of energy, and it's, got some unique features. We're talking about some warehouses that are, they're not warehouses anymore, they're so big, I don't think we should be calling them, a stone and a boulder are made of the same material, but they're not the same thing. Would it behoove the fire department to be brought in on these projects as they're coming in?
Would be a good idea.
We certainly have no trouble doing that with you, this committee. We're totally advisory, but
We're
with you.
always talking about that.
Pardon?
Every project that we get, we always talk about the implications for the fire
Yeah,
department.
we just found out Louis had the phone number though. He made one call. We got Chiefs here. We went right to the top, by the way. This was amazing.
Scared the crap out of me when he called me at 9:45.
Louis went like this, hang on a second.
What's burning?
It was
I
it.
went, I didn't do it.
That's right. I never touched
So
it.
you guys need to be involved in a lot more, and it'll actually change the layout of a lot of these projects, quite a few.
We've been in
All those
contact.
warehouses on 17M?
Yeah.
And even on Police Drive, we were involved with that.
Yeah.
Well,
You were
and that,
not.
Yeah,
that's,
police driving, all honesty, none of those were ours.
No,
They're all in the village. Yeah.
Oh, the police drive is still in the village?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right King Zach
Mm-hmm,
is still the village.
Yeah.
okay.
Then the one
After
up
that-
behind there.
And then the one up on the hill is the village, but you have to get through the town to go
Right.
into it.
The driveway to get to it is in the town, right?
I know what some of the concerns are. I haven't been involved in years, but I know what some of them are being, and they ask me.
Yeah.
And that's why I say all the time, let's bring the fire department in, let's see what they need. You know,
Okay, would you need, and again,
The
ammo
access
apparatus?
Yeah.
It's fine.
sufficient.
Yeah.
You can get a ladder truck or whatever, if
Yep.
you're gonna spray down on it, you're gonna be good somewhere?
we're probably not gonna get too close to it.
I assume you're gonna spray from out here too far.
Plus, the other thing too is, there's still energy in those batteries, so if we start putting water in, are we getting electrocuted?
that's
Oh my God.
what they're saying, let it burn.
Yeah.
No, that's not why they're saying that,
That's what they said.
but they said let it burn, but that's not, they're not saying that because you're not gonna get.
Like if there's a power line on a pole down.
Right.
We don't go near it
Right.
until it's de-energized by whomever.
Right,
Yeah,
so
isn't there a
apparently this
certain
is,
distance on the ground, once a pole, wire
They'll-
gets
they'll
down, that
actually-
you can't walk on?
They'll actually whip around,
yeah,
you know, and depending how long the line is, I mean, it could be 50 feet that things flying around.
the story they're telling, the story I was told at the training session was that the electric won't come up the water fast enough. That's what I was told. Look, I'm not holding nozzle,
Hold
but
the line.
but- but that's what we were told, honestly.
Chief, you said you were going to have a call with New Leaf. You're trying to work something out to speak with them?
With Terrence, yeah.
Terrence, yeah, I got last email I went back with them was on the 21st of last month.
So that you know, they have come in, for lack of a better term, pretty hot and heavy. This project sat dormant for years and years, and all of a sudden, they came in firing. They talked to 3 boards in a row. It came to us already. It feels like it's moving quickly. So, if you're looking to have input, and we'd like your input, a meeting with them quicker than not would be better for you, be better for us, and anything we can do to help make that happen.
I
that'd be
think
great.
that we don't wanna push you. We're gonna fight we're gonna fight your fight to slow it down so you can handle it. Okay, that's my desire.
but it wouldn't hurt for them to write a letter
Oh,
to
no.
the planning board saying, hey, we're
we still
reviewing
need-
it.
Right, we still need
exactly.
time to review this.
Yes.
And in fact, I think, if it's a matter of pulling in some kind of, supposedly, we can start pulling in experts, whoever the experts are, on these things to start reviewing plans and everything else. I don't know what that means entirely, but we can get that paid for by them. So if you need some of that, let us know.
They're gonna make it smell like roses.
I know that, and that's why we can take a third-party, person to look at it, like this guy who did the training session out there at the, training center.
Yeah, he might be a good guy to have him come in and look at it.
Yeah.
Remember his name?
Yeah, I really think it was, the 2 guys that were there, was Victor Groves, and I think he kept on referring to, that he'd always talk to Lieutenant John Cassidy from Hazmat and, FDNY. But Victor Groves was the guy from the state fire service.
So he's from the state hazmat unit then. I believe that's where you.
Okay, it could be. Hazmat ran that training session that night. So, yeah, I was comfortable
If
with them.
they get approval on this one, they're just gonna start putting them all over the place.
Yes,
Yes.
I think
that's the problem.
I think they might want to, but I don't think there's gonna be that much need for it, and it's tough locations for it too. That's the way you can put
I
it.
think every solar farm will have its batteries now.
They wanna put one on the outside landfill too.
But-
So, there's room,
Yes.
there is room. They're
Right,
making-
but I think there's two separate things, so we go back to, if it's on a solar farm, or whatever, then I think that the batteries they can have can only service that unit, that thing, as opposed to this one, which has nothing to do with any solar system. They're fixing, putting this out, yep.
Nor will it help Goshen, supply anything to Goshen.
The reason why there wasn't any information on how much water they took to put out the fire in California was because they were told not to use water, because it would cause a chemical reaction to cause the lithium ion batteries to explode.
Yeah.
As
And it
well
does
as
happen too.
the,
This kid should be in charge.
No, I've seen that.
Wikipedia, baby.
And yet I've seen, also
That
heard,
whole webinar that I was on today.
go ahead, what'd you learn there, go ahead.
Well, the same thing everybody's talking about, the difference between the fire and the cars, and, I think that the biggest problem they're seeing now is that they want EV buses.
Yeah.
And they're having a big problem.
Goshen's getting 4 electric buses next year.
They already got 2 in, they're using them now.
Are they
Once
out
the
on the road?
fire starts,
I was told
they
they're
have,
already
they can't
in
put
use.
it out,
Yeah.
and that's the problem.
And even like, are they storing the buses inside or outside?
There's, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think one of the other problems that, student bus service talked about was, there's not enough infrastructure to charge up 50 buses.
well, that's the other issue. All the
Right.
EVs, they don't have enough
Enough charging stations for that, especially for that kind of use, where we'd have to recharge 50 buses every night.
So is the takeaway from this to the planning board, slow down, we've got, fire department needs answers?
We have to, I agree, but we have to come up with what we're looking for, and we are looking for answers.
They can come up with what they're looking for.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I'm saying we have to go back to, the planning board has to understand, what the issues are that still need to be learned. And I think you're right, Dave. How do you deal with the fires? How do you deal with the flume?
I still believe that whoever manufacturing these batteries should provide us with the information as to what we need
Yeah.
to, or not, put them out.
So, there is.
To you guys as well, not only to the board, to you.
No, it's absolutely, to them more than us, it's
Correct.
more important. And they have material safety data sheets and,
Yeah, we
I
had,
think the planning board needs to take a step back until they get all this information in.
but we have to let the planning board know what it is that they need.
well, this is new math, that's what I'm saying, this is new technology.
There's so much research that they have to have before they can make an educated decision on whether they want it or not.
Whether we can handle it or not, right?
Whether we could protect the community.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well, that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
I said that from day one, and that's why I was against it, and still am.
And we said it last meeting, if nothing happens, you'll never know this system is there. But if something happens, we'll make national news.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't doubt there's ones around we didn't even know about.
Yeah,
Correct.
well, Woolworth was an example.
Correct.
I think there were at least 3 or 4 of these big ones in New York State alone.
And then depending on how they discharge and you add on 2 more, what's the consequences of those? Just keep on adding and adding. May not happen in a year, may happen in 4 years. We don't know.
In which case we now have double the amount of batteries.
Correct.
You know, we actually do have a lot of material that you and I went through a month ago on this, can we get that? And if you, it's brutal to read, but there
Well,
is a lot of
that's-
information
That's
on.
what I'm saying, even the webinar it was so highly technical that you need an
We have
interpreter.
something for you
Yeah.
guys to look
Just
at.
send it to me in trouble.
Is-
I can't get my email.
Always have to make fun of them, you know?
Otherwise, you'll get the phone call at 9:45 at night again, just so you know. I have beats number
I
2,
literally
so if you
looked
don't
at my
answer.
phone, I was like, who is this?
Tell me about the fire department, Louis Noah guy, make a call, boom.
Right, we're gonna have to, separately, I think one thing is, we have to make sure these are all marked, no park, stop understanding, these are fire lanes, the whole way up.
It might even also require fencing so they can't park there.
Not gonna happen, Louis.
Why not?
You're gonna make a fence,
If
Only
there's
through that?
not supposed to be any vehicles around there, yes.
We're here, PDA fence, yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
up there we can, but we're not gonna make it through his parking lot,
If you're asking him and telling him not to park there because it's a problem,
we are telling him we can't park, we have to tell him that he can't park.
then you
Then-
can put a fence
Yeah, he put,
or barriers.
like, yeah, barrier or fence, and it has to be from here, or even back here. Even,
No, that I think we can do, that, I have no problem asking for that. What I'm saying is, we're not gonna get it here, and that's
No.
still where I'm concerned about getting your trucks through.
we're,
yeah. We can.
don't worry about our
we've been
trucks
in-
getting
we've been
through,
in-
we'll get
No,
through
cause
there.
I know he parks vehicles here, he parks vehicles
And
here.
if this is open, our trucks will go down this
I'm
way
not
too.
sure, I'm not sure it is, that's, he
From
has,
the picture that,
a lot of stuff is
Mr.
service,
Healy
yeah,
has.
I know it's open, but
What
on what day is the concern?
is that?
I'm not sure what.
I think you're right, all this is open at some point on some days.
so
Yeah,
even if we went up there,
now that
We can
is, that's
still-
here, that big white spot's here.
I understand that.
Yep.
Even if we go up and through there, an engine can fit through there
Right.
and stop right at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
right into the
Okay.
back here.
They frequently have, like you can see, they have cars parked there now, and there may be cars parked here. That one's not so wide open.
That's fine
We'll
if
leave
the wind's
that.
not coming out of the north.
Yeah.
If the wind's coming out of the north,
We're
We're
not
not-
understanding that.
Yeah,
you're not
but
accessing.
it's just, I understand, I know where you're going, Mr. Gilly, is that we, especially for us, between all the guys that cover and the three chiefs, we always have a plan A through Z.
Yeah.
Listen, if it comes south, we know like one is here, north where we're going, we automatically know we're, like, that's just another option for us in our game plan.
And we would actually probably, if there was something going on there, stage outside.
Over there, the
of
parking area over
road,
there, yeah.
And, you know, the chief and one person goes in, sees what's going on, and comes back out, you know?
Yeah.
We are, this goes back to the evacuations, the radius and such, because if the wind is going that way, you're under SCBA right from the beginning.
And
You-
we're gonna be on them for half an hour, we're gonna need another one.
Exactly, because, I mean, you're driving in with this stuff.
Right.
You've been to electrical fires, I've been there, it's,
Yeah.
closes your throat right up.
Mhm.
So, again, these are, to give you an access from every direction, I think would help you. You wanna attack this thing upwind.
Aren't there transformers out there somewhere?
Yeah,
It's over here.
The whole
Yeah.
But
substation.
even if they put a path,
Right,
cause there is a road there, it's not hard to go off to the right of it.
that might be the easiest way to access
And
that
then
anyway.
put that, yeah, 'cause then you're really not going through his yard. Yeah, you still have to go through his property,
Correct.
but even if you go through the Orange and Rockland spot, you go to the right of it and go around it, they make it big enough, that's our best access, like the chief said.
More questions than answers again, right? This is,
I
this
think
is a big project.
I can print out that entire webinar today.
They have a narrative statement.
They
Yeah,
Yes,
use
and
I
like
said
the
I
letter-
should do it and give it to them,
Yeah,
because
they
it
do
was
that,
all
they send
based
out.
on
I
how to
know
deal
the-
with the fires.
The village has an
Recorded,
app,
right?
I believe the village has an app,
Not
and
sure if
it's-
the town does, but
I
I
don't know
mean,
about
they could
recorded,
put that,
I
in
think
the
it could have been,
requirements
it
too,
was a
they
Zoom
gotta
thing, but,
provide that
the
service.
professor that
Mhm.
was
Yes,
talking about
because by the
fire
time you're done
was in
knocking out
charge
doors,
of,
regardless
It's
of
gonna
sure,
take-
yeah.
If it's 3 o'clock in the morning now,
technical-
people are in bed,
technical
they're gonna wake
stuff.
them up.
Mhm.
if you,
But
that
there's a lot of
you know, I would
information
reach out to
on
Molly
how to fight the fires and what
and
happens
see
when
what
they
app
happen.
they, like, I know the village has
So
an app.
I should try
Okay,
to print
good.
it out.
They get it out, I know my wife uses it, cause we live in the village. But she gets it sometimes, and it'll tell you, oh, you're allowed to, it gives you updates at least, like, when they had the brush fire on Hilltop, she got the app, she goes, I got your text message.
Sometimes Facebook's the best.
Yeah, when he said, when you're sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, your
Yeah.
phone doesn't go off,
I
this
know,
is an
no,
alert to
I
your
know.
phone.
Yep.
So,
How about the police chief may know something about that, I'm not sure who runs that now.
Down here.
The notification that have to
Oh.
notify people of an emergency.
It'd be I think it's the mayor,
Okay.
for the village of Goshen, I believe there might be like a certain handful of people that must have, cause once again, if,
Who's not there?
who's not there, if someone's on vacation,
Yeah,
they're not gonna know, the other people are gonna know.
I'm in Florida, I'll have to make a phone call.
Yeah, hold on, I gotta make
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
like you said.
Uh,
alright.
all right,
More questions than answers.
But, like, back to whoever said, between 1 and 4, 5, is that, yeah, ask us, we'll come to the planning board meetings, you have my email, I'm kinda
Yes.
the person in charge of doing pre-plans of buildings. I kinda took that
Mhm.
on when I was captain, and I've been going back and forth with Frank. I just recently got all the village residents of their solar panels on roofs. Same, I told Frank, and Frank's working on that. It's a lot to do for the town, and I get that.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and I get that, so it's not hard.
Well, they need to get a permit for those, right?
Yeah, then we would have.
But they,
permits.
you gotta go through and like, and I said for our fire district, so it's tough because town of Goshen covers 3 fire districts.
Right.
Mhm.
We
Florida,
should be
Chester.
able to get to that.
No, he is, and
Yeah.
he just,
And then otherwise, the notification should also be at the meter also, that, hey, you connected to solar, you connected to a generator.
Right, yeah.
That stuff is usually at the meter.
So now what
See-
happens when the house has solar on it?
Gambuti,
You gotta evacuate the people next to it because they're
TI.
burning as well.
They,
at Goshen,
they will always be energized, those panels on.
Yeah.
We
NY,
can shut it off
FD,
coming
it's all
down
together,
off
just so
the
you know.
panel,
Yeah.
but the panels on the roof are
Dot.
always energized.
Or,
Right, so once they
Can
catch
you
on
verify
fire,
that, make sure?
you're talking about the same toxics.
I don't always,
Basically.
I answer emails,
But the
I
thing
answer
about
when I get out of
no,
work.
Well, I
Actually, I
listened
just saw
to like a
some
webinar
companies make
Oh,
today
okay.
things
on
like,
these
blankets
Yeah.
that you
ion
can throw
batteries,
over the
and they
solar
went through all
panels
the
and it-
fire
keep it-
and the
yeah.
different
Stuff
problems
you
that
can
they've had.
email me and.
If I can get a
Okay.
printout of that webinar,
Yeah.
I'll send it to
Yeah,
you
they're making that for
because
even
it,
these other ones.
there's a
too.
lot of it that's
Yeah, I
like,
saw that.
So
like
I
you said,
said,
you need an interpreter, but in the end, they really go over a lot of how you deal with the fire.
So.
Yeah, send it to me.
Okay.
Like I said,
That pop up,
Monday through Friday,
even in.
I'm at work until 3:30.
Okay, that's fine.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, at least you'll have it as some sort of point of reference,
Yeah,
because it was
Yeah.
pretty
They'll
informative,
do it, they'll do it, they'll
but
do it.
like I said, it was a
Golden
lot
Rodeo,
fact-based
what,
that
Yeah,
graphs
two of
and
them.
everything that
I thought
And
was
for-
over my head.
they were starting to build.
yeah,
up.
during the day sometimes.
There's-
I'm on
there's
my
two of them
phone,
side by
so I
side.
answer my phone,
One is actually
Phone sits in the chief's car.
owned by the town of Chester.
personal phone stays in
And
home,
then
you
there's,
know,
but
all
it
the
isn't, both of them are out of town there.
So what I was also explaining to them is because of the firefighting force, we don't have it, it's a lot more mutual aid coming in, we're having
Yeah.
more vehicles at the scenes and stuff.
And this is also, the fire like this is also a lot of liability for the fire department because we call Florida and they come in and they get exposed to this
You're paying for it.
in our district, and we're liable for that,
Yeah.
for all their medical.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you get
If
hurt
they're disabled from it.
in
we're-
Goshen,
I didn't know that.
the fire district has to pay the bill,
Cause you called them,
because, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if they called you, you'd be on
Yeah.
theirs.
Right,
correct, yep. Yep, that's not what I expected either.
so, yeah, so that's another thing too, the liability is a
Mhm.
major, if we start asking people for help.
Well, we're going to. I mean,
And
we're
that's
gonna
the
suggest
way
it and we'll see how we do. What? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Carol.
That's the way it goes. I see all the fire departments going
Right.
to, there was a fire, they go past I'm on 17A, and they go past my
Yeah.
house 24/7.
That fire on Plasky a week or two
Blasty,
ago,
that
Yeah.
one, they
There
were
must have been
all
6.
going down,
must have been 6 different departments there.
yeah,
Yeah,
that poor man and his kids,
Without ambulances and police,
Well, that was the problem, we couldn't get an ambulance.
You-
horrible.
because of the hoses and the
No.
ambulance?
Because there was no.
there was a
available.
delay,
Really?
yeah, there was.
We actually got a pulse back on both the kids,
Oh, no,
and we had an ambulance that, he went, the kids went to the hospital with a pulse.
It's just coming,
The,
They
you
couldn't,
know,
yeah.
but, yeah, the father, no,
we found the father 20 minutes later in the front room.
we couldn't find him.
It said in the thing that he removed the kids, saved them.
No, we went in, first thing the, truck, the Minnesings did was they went in, first thing they found was those 2 kids. But the father was behind the couch under a window, like in a fetal position,
Oh, my goodness.
so.
With the recliner in front of him.
Okay.
Okay, what else might you want here, need here?
I think we touched on all of our
Yeah.
concerns so far.
Yeah,
Until you talk to them again.
yeah, it's all,
Okay.
Again, this is new math, right? This is new technology, so we don't know what we don't know. And that's why we're trying to,
That's why we're not gonna say yes.
No,
Yeah.
we're looking for
Thank
the first,
Thank you.
the first questions. That's where we're really at.
yeah, we're really at the beginning of this, but Neil, I don't know, I just felt like this thing was going fast. They came in like gangbusters and
They're trying to turn over fast. There's no doubt about it. I think they're back in front of us next Thursday. If you want, we can let you know. It might be on next Thursday at the planning board.
that'd be planning.
next Thursday.
You know, All of the meetings are on the Town of Goshen YouTube channel, so you can
Watch it?
watch
Yeah.
from home,
Okay.
and,
And that's live, and then you can also go back to it.
Yeah, usually watch it Friday afternoons.
Yeah.
We probably won't call you for every little thing, but this is not.
No,
one of
this-
those.
this
This is huge for Goshen, I feel, so.
I'm sure they were looking to get this in there without any involvement from anyone.
there you go, Chief.
I swear to God, you had to listen to it, that, it was no worse than a house
It
fire.
made it smell like roses, and
Yeah.
We're gonna
That's
let
what
it
they're gonna
consume
do.
itself. That sounds like let it burn to me, sure enough. So yeah, that was kind of the feeling, and
All right, so let me ask another question, just, again, not because I know anything, because I don't know anything. Let's say the answer was to, put water on it. And I had the container around it outside. One of the problems with that is that rain's gonna go in there all the time or something. So obviously, the one way to prevent that is to put a roof over it. Is that gonna make it harder for you?
If the containers are underneath of
Yeah,
it.
put the containers underneath, kinda like put it underneath the pavilion.
Yeah, I think that would be, that would make it harder.
That's a negative.
So
It
we
would-
have to
it would
cut
burn
through
the roof with
to
that
get to
heat.
the- Yeah.
It might, but the
it's
answer,
not might, it will.
I understand that.
There's no
I know, I
mites.
understand that, Louis. I'm looking at something like, if you go over the size of the soul, that thing is 30 feet in the air or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not gonna burn through that roof right away. And so the question is whether that roof is gonna still
It's
harm their firefighting ability, and I don't want that.
It would definitely not
Yeah.
make it easier.
Okay,
it's gonna contain the heat even more if it can't be exposed. So even if you put it up 30 feet high, you're holding more heat in
Yeah,
there.
you can-
If it's
you can-
burning through a sealant container,
Yeah.
it's gonna go through the roof.
no, and they have burned through. Not every ceiling container gets burned through, but enough of them do.
that's hot.
The pictures are there.
It is.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Anything else you,
So when we get more information, or you get information.
I'll send it right to you, one of us will.
whatever information we get, we have no problem giving it to you, getting it to you.
And same thing, when you speak to him, if there's anything, you're talking to Frank anyway. But
Yeah.
sometimes we don't get all the emails
Okay.
and some of the information. I'll text you later,
Yeah.
some addresses and stuff, emails, especially Neil's, and, that way we can look
I'm
into
gonna
it too.
email him that, a synopsis of that webinar on these batteries
Yeah,
that I went through
Just
today.
send it, like
We
you said,
just got a
when
lot
you
of
send the
information.
email,
mm-hmm,
just attach everyone's email to both of ours.
will do.
Just so it makes it easier than we're just writing the chain together.
Excellent, okay. Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, if you can't get in touch with anybody else, feel free to get in touch with us all the time.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
She's stealing your pen now.
Guys, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
so much for
Thank you
coming
for
in.
answering.
No problem.
Not a problem, 9:45 minutes. You want your monthly test? I'll just monthly test you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Caught me off guard, I was like,
I broke down, I needed it, so.
yeah, I was like, hold on, one guy.
Really don't-
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, anything else on this that we?
No, we,
I don't have anything else. My answer still remains the same.
I-
You're not convincing me of anything else.
I didn't convince you, I wasn't trying to convince
Well,
anybody.
they will try and convince you.
They are gonna try to sell the fire department.
Absolutely.
Sure.
it's wonderful that they gave you their time to come in and
Absolutely.
answer these questions. And again, I think, we just
I
wanna
agree
give,
that they should become more involved with some of the.
Oh,
We've
projects
said that
we
from
get.
day one,
The trouble is that,
but they don't know when she needs to go.
that's
through.
one, and the other thing is that we're asking for more of their time. They're
Yes.
volunteers already, and now we're asking for another
No,
2 or 3 hours every
But
week or so.
ultimately, it's helping them out, because if
I
they
was
have a
just gonna
fire,
say, yeah,
There's less
exactly,
risk
they
for
know
them.
about
it's
it.
less risk if they wanna know, especially if they know what's going in that building.
Sure.
Warehouse,
I agree.
industrial.
I agree 100%.
There's 3 chiefs, there's 3 captains.
Yeah.
One of them should be able to make a meeting here and there.
I wouldn't sit for all our planning board meetings,
well, we could
for everything. I mean, I would,
make the item number 1, they can cut out after half an hour.
Exactly, just like we did today.
Yeah.
Yep, just to bring them up to speed, so it's easier for them as well.
I was
And
surprised.
getting the right equipment,
Yes.
yeah, and know what it could be, right.
that's huge for them.
Mhm.
It's too late after the effect, because once these go up, now they're coming to the public saying, hey, we need more money now.
Right, or we simply can't fight a fire in that.
Right.
Which is, that's devastating, you know? And once we do this one battery energy storage system, the next one that comes up, we already have the answers because we took the time on this first one.
Well, that liability plays a big part of
I
what we
didn't know
said
that.
about that.
I didn't know that.
For mutual
That's-
aid.
I didn't know that either.
No, I hadn't heard of it,
Now you know it. It's
The
official.
more you know.
but, yeah, and that's big money sometimes. All right, next one on the agenda is American Reclaimed, or antique lumber place down on 17A.
Were they rebuilding the one that burned?
They're gonna rebuild the one that burned, they're gonna get approval for all the stuff that's,
They're taking down the one that burned, they're building a new one, aren't they?
yeah, I think the one that's burned is already down, but they want to put another one up, and then they also gotta get approval for all the outside storage that they have there. They never went all the way through with it, basically because, during the process, the father died, and everything just kind of fell by the wayside as they were recovering, from that. And so now they're up and recovering and looking to go forward. They have a number of, things that are in violation of the code. They're gonna probably look for, some kind of variances. They have some variances already, but they may need more. One of the things that is possibly going to come up, because we usually do, is whether or not they need to go through some kind of water testing or well testing. When we do houses, we have a specification as to what you have to do as for how much pumping and this and that, the other thing, and whether or not you have to do it for a simple 2-lot subdivision versus a 3-lot subdivision, and then once you get to multiples. So the question here is, when we get to commercial, it is nothing set, because everything commercial has variations in how much water they need. A warehouse is different than an office building, which is different from a manufacturing facility, and so consequently, that has to be determined each project. So the question on this one is that we're down there, and they're proposing to do some kind of work. And so the question is whether or not they have to do this well testing, because the well testing costs probably somewhere in the realm of $10,000 to $20,000, if not more,
Why do they have to do that?
to prove that they're not going to harm the neighbor's wells.
How much water do they need
I
for the
don't think they're
process?
gonna be using
I
that much
look,
water.
I'm telling you the intention is that's the reason why the code is there, and that's the reason why it really doesn't need to be looked at, I think. However, I think the question is, how much water is this project gonna use? And is there a reason to believe that that's gonna be too much? And my argument usually has been that if we would allow a one-family house to be there, and if he's under 400 gallons, which is what a one-family house uses, then don't bother. You can come in tomorrow and ask for a permit from Frank for one house, and he's gonna give it to you. You may even be able to say, if you did a simple, small-scale subdivision, you might be able to get 2 houses there, in which case you still don't have to do any well testing, and you have 800 gallons, and it's no permit, no nothing, you can't have don't require to have well testing for that. So my argument generally has been, if you can stay under 800 gallons on a big enough lot, we shouldn't make you go through the well testing just for the sake of doing the well testing, because
Because
you're really
he
not gonna.
doesn't have that many employees, and even if he builds back for this furniture part, I can't see him hiring more than 1 or 2 guys. Because I knew someone that worked in that fabrication that got laid off when the building burned, and he didn't hire him back,
But
so.
I think what we're talking about is, this is a commercial site, and so what he's approved for now doesn't mean in a year from now, he doesn't say, you know what?
I need something else.
I'm gonna open up into a different type of woodworking that's going to take more money, but by that time, he's already approved as a commercial site, and there went your,
You mean more water?
more water. I agree with you, I don't think it's going to happen, I'm saying that, I don't think, does the planning board have the ability to say, you can do this, but no more?
Sure, the question we have said, you're limited to 800 gallons. The question there is, how do you document that? And at least on one, we talked about having to put on a meter, that at some point in time, if we were having issues around there, we could go down and we could start reading the meter. We did that down, that Gummy's place down off of Pulaski Highway, by Echo Lake. Go ahead, Louis.
No, we
If enough
definitely,
businesses come in, let it through a water district.
What?
You heard it. You wanna do it along 17M, let them do it along 17A if he needs water.
I don't know that he needs water, Louis. The question is
He
not.
may not, but how much
The-
more
the
is
que-
gonna be built through there?
Well, the question right now is whether or not this guy has to do a $10 or $20 or $30,000 well test.
I meant sarcastic.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't ask for that. See how much, well, do you, is there any way to know how much water he uses? Without going through that very expensive test?
No,
Like,
what we
how-
usually do is, Howard, how many employees, and employees are really simple, it's 15 gallons a day per person. Okay, that's what each of us use. And then after that, it's, all right, what do you need for any kind of processes?
All right, so what's the parameter for the 15 gallons per person? Because they're going to work, they're probably bringing their own drinks and stuff like that, so not
Sure,
drinking
but
water,
it's
maybe
bathroom.
using
Flush
the
in the bathroom.
bathroom.
Sure, you're gonna flush, you're gonna wash, you're gonna flush, you're gonna wash, you're gonna do that twice in the morning, twice in the afternoon, and once for lunchtime.
If it wasn't for the fact that this caught on fire, this wouldn't be in front of us asking about how much water.
Yeah, it
they
should
need.
be, yes, it should be. He
If
never,
it
he never,
didn't catch
He
on
was
fire,
yeah,
Expanding.
he never completed his process, Louis.
but he expanded for storage,
Right,
not for
right,
using the
right.
water.
No, and that's not the
Huge
issue,
difference.
that's not the issue, the issue
So
is that
if you approved him
we never,
for that, yeah,
he never got things signed off. He never
So he
completed the
just kept
process.
adding without coming before.
No, when he got the original changing over, where he started going outside and all that, he started the process of getting the approval for the site plan and special use permit. He went so far and didn't complete it.
Mhm.
At that point in time, he was gonna have to do this well testing, and he didn't complete that. So at this point in time, we had that, and he came in for, maybe it caught Frank's attention because he came in for the permit for that, but whatever. In any case, he was not fully covered by the approvals.
This was before the fire or after?
The fire may have been what triggered Frank to start looking at it and say, hey, you never completed this.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what triggered that. So the answer is he
did
should,
he get a conditional approval like I did?
he probably did, Louis.
So with that conditional approval, he was known how many gallons of water he would use.
No, he had to do the testing at that point in time.
That
Oh, so
expensive
then it's-
test?
He was gonna have to do the testing at that point in time, Louis.
Okay. The business that was in there prior to that.
What was that medical care stuff?
Yeah, medical something,
Medical.
that was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, and almost just nothing but warehouse. I don't think anybody even worked there necessarily. So anyhow, yes, that was there, and yes, that would have had to been done. Is there anybody who believes he should have to do this
No.
up to how many gallons? If he needs how many gallons?
He's the only one that can tell us that.
No, he can tell, yes, he can tell us how many gallons he thinks he needs to use. But if he came in, if he came back to us and said, I need 10,000 gallons a day, I'm gonna say, yeah, I think you should do the test.
well, this says he's on 2.8 acres in the AQ3, which means it can only put one residential home on there if he wanted to.
Oh, he's not gonna put a home on there.
No, he's not, we're just trying to estimate if he was allowed to use this many
Why don't you
gallons.
just ask him how many employees he's got? And
We
then
can
try-
get that, we
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
that, and say it's 20, and it's not 20, I don't
It's
think.
No.
That's
it's
300 gallons. Then the question is, how much do you need then I think the question is, how much do you need for your process?
not.
Well, I think it's almost nothing, you don't,
Why do you think he needs water for his process?
I don't think
He
he
doesn't,
does.
he doesn't.
Maybe he cleans his brushes out, I don't know, really.
Okay.
I think it's
Well,
gonna be
don't you think
something.
we should have that before we continue this conversation instead of guessing?
No,
I mean, that's basically what we're doing here.
no, it's not, no, we're not.
No, we're.
What I'm
Find out
saying
how
is-
many
we're just
employees
talking
he
about it.
has and how many gallons he thinks
Sure,
he
and I
uses.
think, yes, and I think what I'm saying, I think, I'm not even asking, is, look, my recommendation to the planning board would be, if it's less than 400 gallons a day, like we require for a single family house, he should not have to do a well testing.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
That's my conversation.
Agreed.
And the only way to get that is number of employees and how much he needs.
Caveat there being, he's not going to expand the current operation to use more water.
Sure, and then that certainly is part of the stipulation on the site plan approval, I would think.
If that's the case, then I agree with you, he should not have to go
But-
through that.
Is this a planning board and a ZBA?
ZBA may be involved in it if he's still gonna go for it. He was talking the other night, hey, I'll move the stuff out of the way, so I don't need to go to the ZBA. And he may do that.
His storage units are into the setbacks, but they're all
Yeah, but they're
movable.
all, yeah, they're all,
So he's saying he can pull them off the setbacks, but he'd rather not, because then it crowds.
but they're against the fence.
Right, and against the fence is too close. So he's saying some of them have to be moved 20 feet maybe into the property. So he's saying,
Is the
saying,
fence his?
I think the fence is his, and I think the fence is on the property line.
Wouldn't the fence be the setback off of the road?
No.
Why would it?
Wait, which fence? We're talking, we're
The
talking,
fence where he's got all the stuff leaning up against.
yeah, and we have the front fence and we have the side fences. So I think the problem is not the front fence, I think the problem is the side fences.
Yeah,
I
that's where
think
he
he's
has
too
it.
close to those.
Which he did say, I'll pull, if it makes this easier, I'll pull everything in, but I'd rather not, because now it gets crowded on the interior, making it more difficult for the trucks to move around. And,
Yeah, there's not much space in there.
yeah, and we're talking about a piece of property that does not have any immediate surrounding properties, and it's tucked back there, but that's not what the code is for.
However, we do have the people behind you, Spruce Hill.
Spruce.
Spruce Hill looks down on this.
Is there a
From here.
Be right
hill,
behind us.
Spruce Hill, off Northgate? It looks right down to, all the way down to.
Sure,
Tilcon.
and so what's supposed to happen, and I will tell you that the planning board already knows they have an issue with this and can't fix it much, is outdoor storage has to be screened from neighboring properties that are zoned commercial.
Well,
That's a
And
weird,
so,
that's a weird one though.
it's not a bad law, it's just, in this particular case, there's no way when somebody's that far above you that they can see into your front yard through the building.
another thing too with his business, his presentation is part of his business, so, you know, that's an advertisement.
And so he's making that argument for the wood out front.
Right.
But the wood that's stored in the back of the building, that's can be
Yeah, I can
seen.
see that.
Right, we can't see it from the road, but possibly Spruce Hill can see it from the Spruce Hill, and maybe,
Spruce Hill's worried about the boards up against the fence and not the
no,
quarry.
no.
Cause the quarry,
Sure, no, we get complaints about the quarry regularly.
And
We
nobody
get
from
complaints
Spruce
about the
Hill's
noise,
fault.
we get complaints about the dust. And we get complaints, right. Look, I've been up there with people and they ask how often the train comes through the town. And, no, it's not the train, it's the quarry, yes. But I have had that question.
But back to it, I think to summarize, it was, if he's not expanding the operation, going to use the current usage of water without change, a water test should not be required,
If
a well
less,
test.
if less than 400 gallons per day,
Which asks how many employees he's got to.
With-
I mean,
restrictions, good,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to come up with that number somehow that's less than 400.
He'll know.
Right, is there anything else on this one?
No.
Right, next one is Quickway Imports. Everybody know where that one is? Pulaski Highway. I think if I have it, this one is,
Oh, wasn't?
This is past organic recyclers,
Yeah.
it's, Merv Lewis's old, airstrip up there on top of the hill.
yeah, but this is now, it's right down there, it's Gertie's old building.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what.
right across from where the
Okay,
fire,
correct.
the fire.
Right.
Yeah, down there. So it's Gertie's old building that they have converted over for, a warehouse for non-agricultural products. It's very full, and now what they wanna do is put another building on the back side of that, add a building to it, and put some more, materials, store some more materials there, and they're gonna just move it back and forth between the two buildings.
It's a big building, it must got a lot of stuff, except
They-
it's not
they
very,
do,
it's not
and they-
very high though, so.
Yeah, but they have it stacked pretty good, I mean, they have high stacked, shelving and that,
Making money, good for them.
Yeah, last time I didn't have a problem with this one.
well, the question behind them is, certainly they have to consider, I thought they were pretty much saying the other day that there was no increase in traffic really, like, if you're gonna have
But isn't that a private road?
it's a private road, they have an easement over it though. They have a driveway from the front, but they have to go up, they can go around on their own property anyhow, but they have the right to use that road, private road. And
You were
they will, they're gonna load it in the back of the property, in the back of the building, I'm sorry.
Was this what they were saying, 2 trucks per week?
Yeah,
they were expecting?
yeah, 2 trucks making deliveries, and then, small trucks going out.
So funny because I've been passing that place forever, never even saw a car come out.
Yeah,
No,
I know, it's, and as Neil was saying, to transfer material between the new warehouse and the old warehouse, so it's all pretty much self-contained.
Yep.
I don't even think they were looking for height variances or anything.
No, they're looking for no variances, I don't think. I think they're just looking to do that. And then at the back of the property is a single-family house, and they're still planning on letting somebody live there.
Even though it's in the agricultural district, I don't see a problem using it the way they are. It's, you know, I'd rather it be full of onions, but, instead it's full of furniture. I don't know the difference either way from the outside.
Right.
Anybody have any concerns about it?
Mm-mm.
John?
The building's gonna be attached or?
No, the building's gonna be separated.
Separate, so they're gonna have to.
It may be by 30 feet, no, I think it's gonna be longer, we'll figure it out, because I think they're going to unload back there, to tractor trailers. Louis, they're proposing to use 40-foot trailers only.
I'm trying to see where, yeah, okay,
Okay, does that seem reasonable?
You're amazing with that phone.
I
You can pull these things up out of.
I didn't even know what they
nowhere.
did
Oh my
yet, I'm
God.
looking up to see what they did.
Okay,
You know what they do?
yeah, they bring in, some of it's like garden stuff, or
Like a
stuff
tiny
for outside statues or something maybe. They bring something like that, and then break it down and buy it wholesale, sell it retail.
Rustic natural tree log wooden rectangular shaped serving triangles, so.
Maybe they don't need that building, you know, with the tariffs going up and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
You know
I
what?
probably wanna keep it under protection.
Yeah. Whatever.
I didn't even know they did that in there, so.
Yeah.
So the proposed building is 36,000 square feet, 211 by 170. It's,
Decent, yeah.
it's a decent sized
Yeah, it's,
building.
it's not a small size.
No. Mm.
There's the one that's currently on the site and the one that goes next to it. So it's a little bit smaller,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's a good sized building.
yeah.
But it's behind the other building, I don't think you'll be able to see it, and again, they're not asking for any variances.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of many complaints about it.
No, none at all,
No.
so I don't think I had anything to say
Okay.
about it.
I think the only question I have is whether or not they may need a sprinkler system because of high rack storage, in which case we just have to locate a tank of water, for water there. And again, they can make that underground.
Wouldn't that, and so that would be when they get a plan, they get the plan approved through buildings. Frank would then be on the,
Well, I would hope that somebody looks at it before we get all through this, because if they have to cite a water tank somewhere, then
okay,
we're gonna have to put it on the site plan.
Yeah,
That's
wouldn't
the only
the
reason
sprinkler
for it.
system almost be like automatic if they're gonna build a building like that?
Pardon?
Wouldn't the sprinkler system be part of the whole building process?
It is part of the building process, maybe, and then, so the sprinkler system depends on what you're gonna have inside and how you're gonna store it, and what the construction of the building is. If you build a building out of wood, you have to put sprinklers in first and then concrete blocks over it.
Does he have one now in the front building?
No, he divided it up with a firewall in there.
What if he does the same here?
He can. I'm not saying he has to do it at all. In fact, the Flex building down on 17M did that. They put a firewall in the middle, so they had two separate buildings,
Okay.
and therefore avoided the sprinkler system. But the question is, do you need it, or if you need it, then let's look at it now rather than later. Okay, anything else on that one? All right, Golden State is on 17M. It's the,
God, I can't stand that name.
Short-term stay.
short-term, it's a short-term stay, less than 30 days.
Yeah.
Gonna be like not duplex, two-bedroom suites for people to stay there.
this is the one up on top of the hill, and they wanna use package sewer treatment.
Yep,
They were in and they were asked in February to provide a leaf-off visual survey, and they said, do it before the leaves come on. And then they came to the last meeting, and all the leaves are on the trees, and they showed, you know, they can't do the leaf-off survey. And the applicant, the guy representing them, he did say, well, you know, these things, they take time, to which Sean Hoffman chirped in and said, you've been on this thing for 10 years, and all of a sudden it's you should have moved it sooner, and I wanted to hug the guy, but, I mean, he just said the quiet part out loud, yeah, you've been, how long has this been on the books?
This has been
This
around
goes
for a
back on
while.
you, yes. Well, it hasn't been 10 years, but yeah, it's been a
No,
while.
it's been a while.
Yep, and
And they-
certainly, you're right, Sean's right, they could have decided to do this quicker.
And so now, Sean made he asked the board, hey, do you wanna make him come back in the fall, in the winter, when the leaves are off, and you get your leaf off, site survey, specifically from Rolling Ridge, Drive, my neighbor's right there, and Ruth Court would be able to see it. The other concern that he had was that, he says, well, you know, there's, acres of woods there between this site and Rolling Ridge, to which some of the board members chimed in with, that's where they wanna put the RDM warehouse, so all those woods go away. So it seemed to me that the board members and Mr. Hoffman were asking the right questions, protecting the residents, and I was very grateful for that. So at this point, where did we leave with that? They were,
I thought the vote was taken that night, that, no, come back and do it with leaf off.
which means we don't, looking at this until,
We're not gonna, right, so it's not gonna come back until November, December probably.
okay.
Right.
And the other thing is, I don't know anything about the packaged sewer treatment plant, but I will drive to go and see what it's like, because I have talked to my neighbors down Maple as I was petitioning. They're out of their minds when you talk to this kind of sewage treatment plant. They don't know anything about it, and all they're thinking is this thing's gonna smell. And I shrugged my shoulders and said, I have no idea. I said, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Question from the back?
I've driven around here for maybe 3 years now, and I've always seen like signs and little pickets just along the road and everywhere in Goshen saying, say no to the Goshen sewer plant.
To the sewer plant? Well,
Yeah, I see it all over, and I was so confused until I started working here.
so, I thought he was gonna say, I've been driving out my whole life. I was gonna feel like,
No, I was waiting for how long he was gonna say.
yeah. Listen, kid, in other words, I'm older than you, but
So-
yeah.
A sewer treatment plant runs as good as the people running it,
Do you,
which doesn't work all the time. I mean, obviously, we have problems with the village sewer treatment plant.
sure,
Every so often it does, we have problems with Millmar every so often. We have problems in the past with the, cheese, the Greek, yogurt. I'm not sure if we still have problems with that anymore. And it has to do with the imbalance of the micro. Sewer treatment plants really basically work based on bacteria
Mhm.
eating the food. Or the stuff going in there, the food is the,
So-
whatever's in there.
I asked you last time, and I'll ask again, does Goshen have a packaged sewer treatment plant in the town that you know of?
No.
I think you said no last time.
The other one closest to being a packaged sewer is, Mulrad. Mulrad has a sewer treatment plant behind his property.
Oh, really?
Where,
I think so, yeah.
Wow, it's gotta go way back because he's got that.
I think it's backed by the
sports
soccer
center
fields.
and-
I think it's backed by the soccer fields. I think he does. I think he really does.
well, the thing is, everybody else, it's either a septic system, if the septic system fails at a house, yeah, it's bad, but it's a one single family, septic field. You're talking about a package plant that is, servicing is it a 20-room, two bedroom, 20
It's
unit?
bigger than that. It's bigger than.
It's a
I thought it
commercial
was big.
building.
Yes, it's big. I
So-
thought it was relatively like 50 rooms or so.
If this thing goes bad, it's like a sewer treatment plant going bad, and that affects everybody, so I guess we have certainly a lot of time to look into it, but I need a lot more information on that,
Isn't this right across from Homewood?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, right across from Millmar is the other thing. This one's right alongside, next to that.
Beyond the furniture.
Spencer area is right across from Millmar.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's, I forget the name of that project. That's what he's talking
So
about.
that was gonna be commercial and then
Right, that was
rooms
gonna
up on
be,
top.
that was gonna be commercial with rooms on top, right. This is right alongside of them, but up the top of the hill. There's an old road driveway that goes up there, as you can't hardly see it anymore. Used to be a double octagon house up there,
Yeah.
burned down a couple years ago. They're planning on putting that up there. They're gonna take the water from there, and then they're gonna, at the back is a small stream, they're gonna discharge from the package plant, what's being put, discharge from the package plant into that stream, let it run down, it actually run down I believe right at the corner by the traffic light.
Yeah.
I think if you look there, that stream goes up the top, in between Spencer area and that, other houses there.
Doesn't that require a speedies permit?
Yeah, it would. It would,
But I thought, from everything I've told, speedies permit's like impossible to get and terribly expensive. Is that not true?
It may be, but that's what they're proposing.
Okay.
And the speedy permit is not from the town, it would go through, DEC.
DEC, yeah.
Right. Then it would run right through Spencer area's property too. So, yeah, that's what they're proposing.
But again, we're not looking at this until.
Right, no, I think, so I think the real question here was, right now, what's in front of the town, was all about the, visual impact.
Yeah, which we can't do until they have a leaf-off survey. Which I'm kinda surprised with modern technology and AI and everything else.
Yes,
Not for nothing, they've had how many seasons in the fall that they could have done it?
Oh, that's
Yeah, that's what we're saying. I mean, the truth of the matter is that, I think they could have done it if they, and they didn't wanna do it, if they just pretended that all the trees on RDM's property, and just, don't take into account any trees there.
Right.
Assume it's blank,
Right.
but they didn't wanna do that, and so, okay. I think we really should look at that though, when the planning board comes back, it comes back into the planning board. We have to assume that RDM's gonna knock down all the trees they need to knock down. And consequently, whatever tree, even with leaves off, we're gonna say, hey, you're looking through this dense wood. Yeah, it's not gonna be dense wood at some point, relatively soon maybe.
So why aren't we doing it first come, first served? If they get approved first, RDM can't take down so many trees. If RDM gets approved first, this guy can't take down all the trees.
Well, this guy's not proposing to take down trees for that, he's just proposing to put the building up there.
Okay,
It is pretty bare up there already.
Yeah, it is.
it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty bare, I don't think he has to take any trees down for that. He may have to take some trees down for his sewer treatment plant back, at the back of the property, but not for there. Yeah, we don't do things first come, first served. I don't know whether you could do it that way,
Why
I've
couldn't
never
you?
heard of it. Because you did
First
your
for
thing,
everything.
what?
So first for everything.
I'm not saying you can't, Louis.
I mean, if these guys are stringing along, like you said,
Yeah.
8 years out there,
Yeah,
and then another project comes in front of them.
jumps it. I understand what you're saying, and
So
I
let
just
me-
don't think that we do things that way, but I don't know that that's just because we never have, or because we can't.
It's gonna become my new platform.
What?
This is how we should do these things.
Well,
I mean, we have
Yeah.
projects languishing on the books that are sitting there
Absolutely.
forever, it's
sure,
ridiculous.
10, 15 years
That's,
for subdivisions, yes.
clean them off, start over again, because whatever you got approved for 15 years ago doesn't
Right.
exist anymore.
Here's your, how much money for an extra permit
Yeah.
to stretch out, how much is it?
It's $500 every year.
Just no, start over, 'cause
Exactly, there
we've
should
got
be
new-
a cap on it. You
Well,
know,
we-
I
we
understand
have-
COVID happened, we're past the COVID thing
Of
now.
course.
The
2 years,
The law changed an awful lot in
The what?
2008. The law changed, the state law changed an awful lot in 2008, 2009, whatever. Because everything, subdivisions used to have to be executed within 1 year. And the state changed it because the economy turned so bad back then that they said we can't harm the people who have now invested $50, $100, $150,000
Sure.
getting the approvals, and now you wanna take it away from them because of the bad economy.
So what did they say the cap was?
There is no cap.
That's the problem.
Look, I think that we said that, did we say it here? We were talking, no, actually it was at the planning board, where we said, look, at some point in time, things have changed since we first looked at you,
Yeah.
and traffic is much more than what it was back when we looked at you.
Mm-hmm.
And there certainly is some validity to that idea. And so the question becomes, and I think that we kind of supported that before, that, hey, at some point in time, we should have to go back, even if you're just sitting on conditional approval, at some point you should have to go back and look at things, either an update on your wetlands, an update on your traffic, an update on your endangered species, whatever it might be.
And to the best of your knowledge, it hasn't changed. How do you get the alert that it hasn't changed?
But what
That
hasn't
they
changed?
took- That now it's back to 1 year.
Oh, I know it hasn't. We're
Yes.
continuing to approve things at the planning board. I think Tressis was just done, I think Tressis might be,
That's gotta be 15 years.
I think it's 15 years, yeah.
That's what they say.
It was back, I think it was back approved when John was on board.
And this is insane to me. I'd like to see it, you come, you got 24 months to do it. If you don't, 5-year break before you come back again. So don't start this until you're ready to go, because we're not just gonna let this languish.
Oh, we've had projects that went years.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying, that's a problem. In the case in point, this right here, Primrose State wants to, the Golden State wants to put it up on the hill, but they're talking about a warehouse, they don't even know about it. And, you know, the warehouse is now over 2 years old, just sitting there. And all the neighbors are wondering, what's happening?
I'm trying to find this post for my friend who, they just
Okay.
built something next to her
But
farm.
some of the reason to go beyond 24 months is legitimate. There are times when, let's take Maplewood or a rigorous thing, that once you go to the DEC, it might take you 2 years or more to get through the DEC. And if you have to go to the Department of Health for something else, it may take you time to get through the Department of Health. It is legitimately, if you're really working on stuff, it may take you more than 2 years. I'm not saying it should be 10 years, but I'm saying it's legitimately more than 2 years.
Then don't take down the trees until you're ready.
Yeah.
Don't cut these fields until you're ready.
That too.
You're bringing in different species of animals at this point that used to live there, no longer live there, and different ones come in. And we got a different vegetation.
So possibly what you could have done is you could have made a habitat for threatened or endangered species that were never considered back when you started the thing. I think it's a point.
All right.
Okay, so Primrose, we're gonna wait for them to do their thing. 17M Flex Building is in front of us because that we had put them out there for their public hearing. It's actually a continued public hearing, I think, at the planning board. That's just because we assigned that. They have not come in with anything new really from the DOT. They're still hoping the DOT is gonna give them some idea on whether they have to provide a turning lane, whether they have to do anything else there at that intersection.
Refresh my memory, this is the guy across from the Tory landfill in the front?
Yeah, this is the one, right, this is the one, right.
He's in
He has the
front
one
of
at
the
the back there, now he wants to put one at the front.
Question is, where's the parking gonna be again in front?
All right, if I can get you that.
He got a bunch of variances and
Yeah, this is looking at it from 17M. That's 17M, this is the building here. Parking's all back here, behind the building from 17M.
It's 17?
The 17M is right there, the outdoor is right there. This is the Walkill River right here.
Okay.
making,
The
put the,
building is here in the park. Yeah.
The parking's gonna be behind here, kinda.
Where's the trucks coming in?
Truck's gonna come in here, probably go all the way around or could go all the way around, and then, back into these. Same general shape as his other building.
Yeah,
it's
looks
tight.
like is he got enough parking back there for cars and stuff though? Is it?
The answer, I don't know what he's gonna need for this building, because we don't know who the tenants are gonna be, but certainly, at the back building, we seldom have any parking there going on. There's, the number of vehicles back there is minimal,
Really?
yes.
What, the breakdown of the other building, how many tenants does he have in there? Because that's.
I'm gonna say he has, maybe 5 or 6 separate tenants.
That's it.
He had somebody take over, essentially when he calls it a flex building, that means that these walls may or may not be put in,
Depending on.
okay? What he did back there was he put one wall in the middle that is not movable. It's a concrete block wall right through the ceiling, right through the roof.
Okay,
So that broke it down so we could avoid having to do the sprinkler system.
okay.
Okay, theoretically, it would burn up the air and then stop burning for 2 hours or something like that, 3 hours. So these in here, you can come in and say, all right, I wanna rent or lease four of these sections, or 2 of these sections, or only 1 of the sections.
Yeah,
He can rent them out, whichever way he breaks it down. Then he puts a wall in there to make that separate.
At what point do you change the name of the categorization from industrial to warehousing? So this is coming in as a warehouse, no?
This is coming in as it's being proposed for a warehouse, right?
So what happens now when people start making stuff in there, like what's that, his other building?
And the answer has to be looked at in terms of, certainly in terms of the building department, building code. And I think we're gonna have that conversation right now as to what restrictions should be able to be put on there, or should be put on there, And when do you have to come back in to get a separate approval,
For every
separate
tenant.
risk, right?
This just happened with
Every tenant.
Outdoor Adventures, right, with it used to be the furniture place, and then it was the scuba place, and now they're making furniture. And Frank went in, he caught them, they're making furniture, and they just came through zoning, the ZBA for a variance to make it industrial. It went from storage to industrial, which meant fire suppression, exits, blah, blah, all that stuff. So I think that's the answer, is it's warehouse until you change, you start making something in there.
Yeah, right now it's being,
But the town doesn't know that.
sure.
The idea behind that is the building inspector is doing annual or semi-annual inspections,
To catch that, right.
which, you know, this is the thing, the building department is stretched so thin right now, it's, just can't keep up with it. Something's gotta give.
So that is what should happen, it should be able to catch it like that. There are in other places, go ahead, Louis.
Two gentlemen just stood here, sat here. With these type of warehouses and industrials, they should come every year and update if they have the tenant move out and a new one going in, so the fire department knows what they're up against as well.
Sure. I don't disagree with you at all, and I think it should, and there are other municipalities that actually have a law that in this, actually they have it in residential too, but even in commercial, that every change in tenancy has to be identified at the building department. If for no other reason, if there's an issue in that section of the building, they have to know who to contact. Otherwise, all we have is the person who owns the whole building.
Absolutely.
And then that also gets you in
They
there.
call it a key holder, but yes.
Okay, yep.
So how do we get on
I think
like that?
what we can say is that we're recommending that somehow in the approval process, when it does happen, that we identify what uses are allowed in there with no further review. And anything outside of that must come back for further review by the planning board, number one. And the change even without the planning board, maybe that Frank may need to see it anyhow.
Well, I'm not only talking about indoor, I'm talking about outdoor. You remember years ago, the storage place used to have about 150 cars there? They were storing them for a dealership.
Yeah, yep, I do.
Store it right from the road.
Yep,
Fire trucks couldn't get around that.
yep.
So that's something that also needs to be looked at. So if he has a new tenant,
Is that not the case right now, Neil, that if you have a change in tenancy, you don't have to notify buildings?
No.
That's a problem. That's definitely a problem.
Well, it may be a problem, it isn't always a problem. If I have somebody warehousing, let's just take Louis. At one point in time, Louis' place used to sell, motorhomes or whatever, or trailers. Now he's gonna have his stuff there. Is that a real big change as to, what's being stored at? Is it?
it's not an indoor storage,
I know.
number one. Number two, I got the approval to do what I'm doing. I didn't go in front of the town saying, I don't know what I'm gonna store there, just give me my permit.
No, I know that.
That's what these guys are doing.
What I'm saying,
But there's a big difference.
yeah.
I'm coming in front of you
No,
saying,
yes,
this is
okay.
where the piles are gonna be, this is where this is gonna be, this is where that's gonna be, for that reason. These guys are coming in saying, I want a building, I don't know what I'm doing with it. Big difference.
I don't know who's going in there, is what they're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're saying is, look, basically, we know most of the impacts based on if you say I'm gonna warehouse either furniture or clothing or whatever, they're all basically gonna have the same impact on the town. So I don't really care whether this has furniture in there or clothing in there or metal cabinets in there. It's all gonna, the impact to the community is gonna be the same, amount of trucks or this, that, the other thing. And so why make them come back in automatically to the planning board just because you change the tenant? However, there are things that will make a difference, and if we went in there and all of a sudden we had some kind of explosives or some kind of highly more flammable stuff,
Mhm.
then I think that it would be could be an issue. Certainly, it could be an issue for the building code because of flammability of what's in there.
But you've had that
I
already. Clear
had
as day, you've had that already.
one already.
At the other flex building down there, he was renting out to a towing company that stored cars
Yes,
inside
and
in
then
his
the
tow
towing
trucks.
company
And
was
then
told
when he
to
came into an inspection, I'll get those out of there, you walk in an inspection, it's an empty room, okay, he's good to go, but he's using it for something else.
I understand that, look,
So-
you can only see what you can see,
Thus,
but yes,
every new tenant has to be, whether it's doing the same job or not, that's what we're trying to say.
Okay,
You're
and I'm
taking
saying-
them for their word that they're gonna do the same job.
no, I don't take anybody for their word.
That's what you just said, you just said, if they're doing clothing, if they're doing furniture, if they're doing this, let them go in. And just leave it at that. Why?
Yeah, you put the onus on Frank to find.
Sure, he's gonna catch it within the year if it's wrong. Let's take whatever, take up there by,
Let me ask you a question, is the
Go
same fire, the fire inspector every year the same for the town of Goshen?
I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know.
But it may not be the same individual. So
It may
he's
not.
gonna review everybody's paperwork before he goes and sees
He
what
should be able, he certainly can take the fire report from last year and go in there, yes. Do they? I don't know if he does or not. I used to have that,
point given.
at one point in time, we used to have that where we had the same guy going out every year, and he knew, hey, there was a change last year.
Mhm.
This wasn't there last year. It was great.
Right.
I'm gonna agree with what Louis is saying so far as everybody, it should be notified, but you're saying, I'm not thinking it has to go through planning, I'm thinking that the building inspector should have the flexibility to say, well, this guy was storing clothes and now he's storing stones. Well, I don't have a problem with stones, they're not gonna catch fire or whatever.
But how do you know if there's a new tenant?
Well,
That's the problem, and that's where you rely on somebody reporting it. And no, I agree with you, and I think that just because there's a new tenant, let's say it was Dick's Sporting Goods and then it became who sells sporting goods, Best Pro Shop or something. What do I care? It's the same damn stuff in there almost.
you don't, but I'm saying.
So why do I need to, they don't need to go to the planning board certainly, and I'm not even sure they have to, other than Frank knowing who to contact knew, if the building department doesn't
Well,
really
then
care.
there it is, just the update information with the planning, with the building department. Mr. Levitt takes a look at it and says, okay, they were sports, they're still sports, they're good, I got the information.
I agree, I think it should be that easy. However, at this point in time, there is no code in the town of Goshen's code that says you must come in if you're a different tenant. Yeah, I think it makes sense, I really do think it makes sense. I would like to see that law, but I don't think it exists.
Well, wouldn't that be something that the comprehensive plan would even consider?
Now, the comprehensive plan wouldn't get into that, the laws would after that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, you could, town board could pass a law for that. And they do it sometimes for tenants even, they do it for tenants, even residential, because things happen, we always get, the building department gets a phone call from the tenant complaining about the conditions in the place when he's gonna be kicked out. So I shouldn't have to pay, so now we have a complaint. But this way, every time at least you know that the conditions of the place, when somebody moved in, were good enough to be habitable. If they change after they're there, that's a different answer, but
The only thing you couldn't do is the storage units. He's not gonna go lift up every garage door at these storage units, but at warehousing, because you
Yeah.
got a different tenant in the storage
Yeah.
unit.
Mhm.
You have a different tenant.
No, I agree, I think it should be done, but we don't have a law, there is no mechanism to force that at this point in time. So it would be really good, and storage units are really bad sometimes. And there's been people manufacturing drugs in storage units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Goshen?
No, not in Goshen, no.
Middletown. We used to plow the one right up Scotchtown Avenue on the right hand side just before Casamia,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff that they were doing up there. Listen, there's more cameras now, so hopefully they'll catch
Sure.
them, but back then.
The state actually taught building inspectors, to be aware of like, drug manufacturing in places like that. They actually had a course on that, they got credit, because it was so bad.
I had a friend of mine whose tenant who wasn't paying, she found out was researching squatters' rights in New York.
It's amazing.
Could you imagine?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's
that's
amazing.
just the way they are now.
I was like, oh my God.
The truth of the matter is, they say sometimes, the attorney will tell you even, that you're better off letting them walk away from a bad debt and that, or almost paying them to
Amen.
leave. It's cheaper.
Yep.
Is there a difference in the code storing and warehousing, storage and or warehousing? Is there a difference?
Isn't that one and the same?
I don't know.
You mean like the small storage places versus warehousing? We count it in the code differently, I think,
You do,
yeah.
because, Slate Hill Storage over there, where they, West Town. Some guy was storing back in the day VCRs and stuff like that, but he was in and out of there constantly. So the town came after him and said, there's a difference between storage and there's a difference between warehousing. Get your shit out.
That's a different, I hadn't thought about it that way, but, yeah.
Hmm.
Essentially, he's running his business out of there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, all right.
Correct.
Okay, so anything more on 17
That's why I
then?
asked you if it was different.
Yeah,
No?
I mean,
flexibility, certainly being used like that, there's a big difference, okay? So we're past the flexible, now we're at solar to Liberty Energy,
God, I hate these little.
okay? The back, I think, doing the visual,
no pilot programs for solar farms. I mean,
I really do, I think they're getting out of control.
sadly, but I'm talking to some people in the industry, by the time you're done on the 30-year, it's almost a break even.
all right.
The idea being that in time, we'll get better at it, so it'll become profitable and good for the environment.
But
Right now,
I don't have a whole bunch on it, here, but it,
That, I know that whole area and it's just like beautiful land and I don't get it.
Last we spoke on this, Neil, I think we asked them for, view shed pictures.
right, and they were doing that, and they actually did a good job
They did a good,
presenting how they're gonna do it, but I don't see anything that should give me that right now.
they did a presentation at planning, and they did show the view shed photos. They did it all computer, and if I'm not mistaken,
They were gonna take pictures of
they
it.
want pictures, the planning board wants
Yeah,
digital pictures.
so I think they have that in the back,
Again, now we're back to leaf on, not leaf off.
yeah, but they should have taken them already, I think they
Did they?
had the ability to do it in the spring.
Mhm.
So I think they should have had them, and I think they should have the presentation.
Mhm.
How close are they to residential? I mean,
Well,
They're right,
they're
they're right behind it, they're right behind that
Yeah.
Goshen Hills,
Like
yeah,
Moonlit
yeah.
Trail is.
Milburn.
yeah, all that. They're right off, they're off of Milburn,
Mhm.
and then they're in that corner right there, right by it, before you get to
Now
Harrods.
Milburn's a dead end,
No,
well, technically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Moonlight and everything else,
Moonlight goes off of
yeah.
Milburn, so it's like that whole section
Yeah.
there.
Which Goshen doesn't benefit again.
Well, they'll back up pretty much to me.
No, what
Yeah,
they're
No, there's no
producing-
electricity going to Goshen, no.
Well,
It's
yes,
not-
yes.
It's free.
Yes, if I wanna sign up for it, you wanna sign up for it, you can buy your electric from there.
Oh, you can.
But
Yeah, most of these places are, if you wanna buy electric from us, you can sign up to say, I'll buy X amount of solar from you. And they generally say they will sell it to you for 10% cheaper, roughly, I think 10% cheaper than what you can buy it from O&R. Just the electric, not the not the transit, okay? You have to buy the electric, the deliveries.
You know, that's where they get
Exactly.
you.
Well, O&R has a breakdown on their bill.
It's,
This is the delivery charges, and this is the
it's
electric charges.
outrageous. I have 6 meters and every month I'm looking at them saying, what the heck?
That's how it is, you can buy your electric from them, you're still gonna pay O&R the $30 a month, or whatever the number is, for getting it to you, and you're gonna pay for the electric separate. And you can buy that from, any number of places, but including these, right? The other thing we have to start talking about, the Comprehensive Plan Committee wants us to consider, sustainability in their zoning, in that. So,
I don't understand, sustainability of the zone, zone's gonna sustain.
that, they're,
Sustainability is we use what we need now without ruining everything for the future generation. In a nutshell, that's what it means. So, don't rape and pillage the land.
Okay.
that's certainly, and the
But
real
now-
question is, what do we wanna think about sustainability, how are we gonna define it to research, go ahead.
Well, sustainability years ago was any large developments, 50% had to be preserved.
That's not sustainability, but that's still in our code,
That's
yes,
still in the code.
yes.
Okay. which hopefully that won't change.
So.
They're not proposing that.
You can break sustainability down into all of these like different, some of them are real woke ideologies and some of them make real good sense to me, but, so I just wrote down some ideas. I know that currently when we have a development come in, the developer has to set aside a certain amount of land for recreational use. But in lieu of that, they allow them to pay, the developer can pay the town,
Yeah,
and the town
Takes
uses
the-
that to say, keep the park going.
sure.
I've heard from quite a few people on my end of town, they'd like to see a park over on the west side.
Really?
On the south side?
Well, I'm on the west side of town, right, so.
Yeah, I was, north of
Well,
17 or south of
sort of,
17,
yeah.
whatever, right?
So, over about where I live,
Yes.
you know, and there are these neighborhoods, and, you know, in order, everybody has to go over
Over.
to Craigville Road to go to the park. So instead of this, letting them, and by the way, it's a great deal for the developer, right? Not having to build and maintain a park or whatever, this is great. But, yeah, maybe these developers need to start actually putting in actual green space and parkland. That's sustainability, that's, you know.
Yeah, but then the question is, do we do it for your development or two or three other, to make it big enough for you or big enough for 3 or 4 developments?
The idea, there's a formula, and the idea is if you're putting in 50 homes, right, you have to have this much acreage for a park. And that's not to say that, and again, this is new math we're talking about, we're redoing the master plan, updating it, saying, well, you have to have, if you do like you have Craigville Park over here, which is a beautiful park, but you do something like that on the other side of town, it starts small, but then as other developments come in, it can be added on to. And the money's collected, either the town in the joint parks maintains it, or some other way.
Well, not the money, the ground, how do you aggregate the land to put that there?
When these developers are putting in, so you're buying, you know, 100 acres. Well, you gotta cut out 2 acres to make it into a park, or something like that. This is what the
So
committee.
each development has to have a park, or the one guy has to put it up for all the other
I'm not
developments?
saying I have the answer, what I'm saying is this is what sustainability means, is to,
Well, I don't like that idea.
okay, Carol's out.
So,
Alright, so that's
the answer is right now, under our code, we recognize the fact that residential uses create a need for recreation space. You're gonna say no?
Okay, let's start with eliminating solar farms.
well, on solar.
That's got no impact on the recreation. So
Open
the
space
answer,
was supposed to be to maintain the integrity of the farm.
it's all of the above.
Not about making a park for a bunch of,
Wait, how's making a park impacting your farm?
well, if you're making a park that butts up against the farm, people have a tendency to not stay in the park.
I understand that.
And, you know, they don't know what boundaries are.
Yeah, but you certainly don't fence the entire,
Oh, look at that cute little horse, I'm gonna go pet him.
Oh, yeah.
God, you kick
Yep.
Billy in the head
You
here.
know, there's a lot of things that you have to weigh. We are not a urban place, we're farmland.
I understand that, I don't disagree with that. I am telling you that right now, we say that based on some formula, we recognize, and we have a recreation plan, acknowledging what we need possibly back in 2004, 2002, 2003, in that area. And we say, look, we need so much recreation space, and as we get more kids moving, more houses being developed, there's more need for recreation space. And there's at least an acknowledgement, I think, that we run out of space for soccer teams and that at Craigville Park.
Okay,
It's-
so you've got the Salesian as well, that
Yes.
sort of would centralize everything in the town
Yes, and
as
so,
a recreation type of area.
and I understand that, and that's I'm not arguing any side of this,
Yeah,
okay?
and they're working on Erie Park, right, that's a new one they just got from the school district, so,
Yeah, I'm
Erie
hearing
Street
complaints
Park.
about that all the time.
well, they haven't done anything with it yet, because they just got a hold of the land a few months ago, so now you have to bid the project, you have to come up with
Decide what's
money,
gonna go in the project, I mean, so let's, and Solution may or may not be available. At one point in time, everybody thought Solution should just be a passive park, no active recreation there. I don't know that I buy that, but that's what was said at one point.
I think
So-
the only thing they have is a dog park.
right. And then you can walk around the property there, and you
Yeah,
can
you
go
can
look
walk
at
around
the,
the property and
yeah,
stuff,
sure.
but
all right, so the next one is, let's say the next one is gonna come in, is probably gonna be Maplewood, and I forget the number, call it 80 units are gonna come in. Out of the 80 units, as of right now, we say for each of those units, you need to either provide recreation space, and most of the time, we don't want the recreation
where's
space.
that gonna be? Maplewood?
That's Maplewood is behind the Salesian property
Ah, okay.
and goes all the way down to the far end, around the Veterans Cemetery, and then down to Coleman Road. So that, and then right now they pay $3,000 an acre, $3,000 a unit, instead of giving up land for the park. At one point in time, the town board still believed that we don't want these small parks in each of these subdivisions. Look, I can go to, let's say I went to Maplewood and I said, look, I need to have a park there, I need about 2 acres for parkland. So he would give us 2 acres that we could use for parkland, and that would be good, you don't have to pay anything more, you have to give us the parkland. So that, he loses the 2 units or whatever then, and we get the parkland, and then we have to take control of it and maintain it, do it in some way. Do we put basketball courts there? In which case, is the basketball courts just for the people who live there, or is anybody in the community can come and play basketball there? That was some of the concerns. Okay, then we can go to something. Let's take whatever, anything like that. We can do that anywhere. And certainly, I agree with you. Years ago, I said we need something south, because there's nothing south of 17. And one of the problems is that if we made something big enough down there, well, take anything there. I'm not trying to picture what's even up there. I don't think we have anything proposed. But anyhow, if there was, we could take 2 acres, 3 acres, whatever the number is, but then we wouldn't have anything to keep expanding on it. And so the question is it too expensive to do all these little pocket parks? Or are we better off continuing to do this? Now, the money that's paid in lieu of recreation, in lieu of parkland, has to be used for capital expenses only. I can't use that for my programs. I can use that to put up new,
Lighting on the ball fields.
new lighting, I can put up new fixtures, I can put up, anything else, I can put up another pavilion, I can put up more jungle gyms, whatever. I could put up more ball fields, all that I can spend that money on. I can't spend it to run the baseball to run the lights. I can put the lights up, I can't turn them on.
You have another viable option right there on Philomena Drive.
Private property, which,
But
okay.
still, I mean, that could be an amazing place to add on to,
Somebody could buy, we could buy it or whatever, or get it somehow.
or lease it or something.
Yes, and then we'd have to improve that roadway to get there, because that
Yeah.
roadway
okay,
is.
but now we're talking about, instead of 3,000, my point, Neil, was that not $3,000 per home, that money is all going into one location in town to spread the greenery
I know,
throughout town.
I agree, I think something does belong south.
The Heritage over off of Old Chester, this is, what they did was they kept this green space in the middle, and they've got a nice walking trail through. I mean, this is, to me, this was well done. This was well done. My neighborhood doesn't have that. I don't have any of that. I mean, I agree, my big lawn in the backyard, I'm happy with it, but we don't have this. And now what I have is the kids on the e-bikes and the scooters, they scare the hell out of me, up and down the roads, cause they have nowhere else to go. I'm not blaming the kid's just being a kid. But if they had a park nearby, it would be, we're talking about sustainability.
You really think that these kids that are scooting around on these electric bikes are gonna go only to a park?
Not only to a park, but it would give them it would be better than having them out on the road.
They're gonna be on the road anyway.
Well, they'd be on the road to get to the park. But at least once you get to the park, I mean, look,
They're not gonna ride an e-bike around much of a park, because they need they want a bigger area, but no, I agree
We're
with
talking
you.
about sustainability. Other ideas, solar farms, every commercial building that goes up should have solar on the roof. That's unused real
I kind of agree
estate.
with that. I agree with the solar on the roof
So
of
that's,
the buildings.
we're talking about
rather than
sustainability.
taking all this land for solar farms.
one of the other spots I always thought would make sense, and I don't know we could ever figure it out, is to go cooperative with BOCES. They have land there that,
Okay.
at least on weekends and after hours, they don't use for recreation.
Yeah, down below this.
Yeah, that would be good.
Whoa, hot air balloons land in a lot.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, I still believe that that's potential for recreation, and look, if we had to rent it or lease it or help with it,
Yeah.
or
Makes
put the
sense.
insurance on it, I think it's an easy
Got
win.
parking, it's got
Lots of
everything.
parking.
I think it could really work.
I will tell you this, that bottom field, it's always wet, it's a swamp.
It's gotta be
It
horrible
is-
now.
It is,
Let them
you-
take the e-bikes in there.
the grass grows a foot and a half high because you can't get into mow it until August. It's brutal, but I like,
It's also
I
long.
hear what you're saying. There is a lot of land there. I got another question from the back.
Speaking on like the whole like, BOCES having a lot of extra land that they don't use.
Yeah?
The property right next to it, Bethel / Glen Arden, that retirement home /
Yeah.
Oh, over there.
yeah, both of them have, like, they're right next to each other. There's so much woods that they don't use, so much.
Yeah.
The one behind.
That's the one
Glen
behind
Arden.
Arden Hill.
Yeah, that's
The old
actually,
Arden
that's
Hill.
actually owned by a
It's,
secular religious
Yeah, it
group.
is.
Oh,
it's
it's
getting
scaring the
bought
hell
out
out of
by
me.
something.
Secular, oh, okay.
I wanna.
I think, so anyhow,
voting.
I think the town should look at it, but anyhow, that's
So,
where we are.
but more than just actual individual projects, I think what the committee is looking for is ideas on sustainability. And that's what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
instead of taking the cash, make actual parks.
I have to think about that word sustainability.
I think we very much need to do it, because we have to work on this.
I think.
Very
we really
seriously.
need to-
I think the other thing,
Sustainability is such a.
Well,
How do
we-
let's talk about sustainability, we can talk about sustainability in terms of water. It's not sustainable if you keep on draining more water out of the ground and it goes back into the ground. That's not sustainable.
Although the past few months.
But they're in
Well, that's
front of
not a
us the
problem.
next month wanting to put up warehouses and wanting to do this and wanting to do that. So
I'm
basically, it's a
underwater.
waste of time.
Why is it a waste of time?
Because we discuss it, but nothing happens with it.
Well,
You want sustainability, and you're talking about water right now, but everybody's coming to you for water on a lot of these projects.
I
And
agree,
you're the one that
Louis.
says you can't tell them no.
No, I'm not. I think we're doing it wrong sometimes. I think that when we look at a piece of property and they say, I need 20,000 gallons of water, the question is, can your property put 20,000 gallons of water in the ground again? And the answer most times of these bigger projects is no.
And the property,
But-
the
but
problem
with
is
that
the
being
drawdown.
said- With that being said, Joe wants to put a water district down there so he can get water, so you're back to them developing it.
You're right, and that's a different part of sustainability. One is if we just stuck with water, the answer is, if your property I think the answer is, if your property needs 7,000 gallons, can it get put back in the ground 7,000 gallons? On almost every subdivision we've done that. We have figured that out. That we didn't figure that out on Maplewood, we gave that away on a lawsuit settlement. And right now we have 1 or 2 projects being proposed that are saying, I need more water than I'm gonna put back in the ground, so I'm gonna take it from the rest of the watershed.
Mhm.
And look, you can't do that forever. That, I think, is not sustainable. We're gonna drain that watershed at some point. In other parts of the country, they've drained the watershed so much that the ground has sunk 10 feet or more. It's gonna happen.
How on earth is the area from Monroe to Harriman on the north side, all the way through? How on earth are they getting water?
They piped the water in off the New York City aqueduct.
Yeah.
That was
Right, that's what I'm
a
saying.
30-year
So,
project. And once
They're
they
gonna build.
tapped in, it was, I mean, look,
So,
the politicians got paid. They all said, no, 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 and then they took the check. Now,
So water sustainability is one thing.
it is, the town of Warwick, no Home Depots, no Lowe's, no big box stores.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, I know.
that is part of sustainability. They've made a
Correct.
conscious
Well,
effort.
Warwick
to
has
keep-
been very strict.
We
from the
did do
get-go.
that for a while, and we, I think, changed our code in 2009 to allow bigger warehouses.
Okay, well,
I have a
change
shop
again?
in
That was a
I
Warwick.
know, I agree, Louis. I
I
think,
have
Okay,
a
so-
shop on Main Street in Warwick for 28 years. And our storefronts and our windows have
They're
to
very nice.
conform.
of course.
Everything has to be in the way they want it.
That's part of
Period.
sustainability, keeping your village or your town a certain way, protecting your businesses, your brick and mortar stores, protecting your legacy business, protecting your farms from this type of development. Warwick has taken a
what's-
very
They're
proactive
very
approach
good,
to it.
Very good.
So what is what, the other thing that I think you can talk about sustainability on is traffic. You cannot build beyond what your roads can, your infrastructure can handle.
Right.
Infrastructure can handle X amount, whether it's roads, whether it's water lines, whether it's sewer lines, whatever our infrastructure is, we can't handle beyond that. And if you build beyond that, it's no longer sustainable, we're gonna have negative consequences.
I call that the misery index. We are talking, as Louis just said, we're talking about blowing out the 17M street, and you are going, it's already a parking lot. The supervisor actually said it 2 months ago in a meeting. I couldn't believe he said it out loud. I said, he said it, and we all know it's bad, and we're still talking about this type of development that is going to bring the misery index up so hard that I'm gonna have to go to Florida, New York, and around, come around through Chester to get around. This is insane, and we're doing this to our residents, our taxpayers. This is part of this.
We're doing it to our residents, we're doing it to our businesses, we're doing it to our farm, we're doing it to everyone.
Yes.
Is the comprehensive plan that's in effect right now available?
Yeah,
And to who?
Mary has it.
Anybody.
It's probably, it should be online, I don't know if it is, but Mary has it, definitely.
But they're in the process of trying to.
They're in the process of working on upgrading it right now.
When you say they, who is they?
It's a
committee.
group it's being led by Phil
Councilman
Cannery,
Cantorino.
and I think Doug may be still on it. And then there's a number of other people, Buckheit's on it, Mark Buckheit's on
Mark,
it.
okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mark
that's
Buckheit's on it. Wendy Morrow is on it, I think that Lee Burgess is on it.
But this is for the newer one.
This is for the
This
new
is-
one,
Yeah,
What the
new
old one,
upgrade.
as it states right now,
right, it's there,
it's there.
And
it's
that was done
available.
by Honey Bernstein, right?
No,
The old
yeah,
one?
yes it was, but it was updated by the town board since then, so they could put in a couple of things.
And how long? But
So-
now it's been, I think, almost 14 years since we've touched it?
Yeah, and generally,
It's supposed to be under 10.
I think less than that even, but yeah,
Thought,
Okay.
I thought it was supposed to be less.
I thought it was 5 or something like that, 7, 5 or
So
something.
that's aggressive, that's like a constant update. Because this update's taken a year.
But a comprehensive plan is supposed to be, what do we want our town to look like?
It's supposed to be.
Okay,
traditional.
and then from the comprehensive plan, you make up laws, so it gets to look like that, or stays looking like that, or whatever.
But there's certain few are already changing laws that
Well,
doesn't make it look like
that
that
is
was put
the
in place
issue.
already.
So
That's the
theoretically,
issue.
laws should not change if they don't match up
To the-
with the comprehensive plan.
We know
Your
that.
zoning is supposed to match the comprehensive plan.
But it's being passed all the time, even with the zoning board.
Then
Why is it?
somebody needs to
So-
call, I don't disagree, it can happen.
Wait, somebody needs to what?
Somebody needs to fight that, it's not supposed to happen that way.
How is it that
Really can't-
a town like Warwick can maintain after all these years and changes of, you know, the government changes or
Not
whatever?
a whole bunch, Mike Sweet was there forever, it was great.
Well, I know. But they
They were
still
lucky.
seem to maintain the integrity of what they started out with.
Because they know how to tell people no.
Well,
Which
you
this
know,
town
yeah.
has a problem of saying no to that, no to this, no to that. We have to try and make it work.
I do remember about 15, might have been 20 years ago in the town of Warwick, they had the meeting, and somebody got up and said, we need a Starbucks, and somebody said, we should have, we need sanitation, and we need it, and the guy on the board stood up and says, where are you from?
Yeah.
And they
Should I
looked and
meet
said,
him?
go back.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, you can't do that, but
Yes.
that's
You
how.
should see when
It's
they
a
got
conscious-
the Dunkin' Donuts in, the Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts had to change its
Facade.
complete
Everything.
look.
That was
So
gorgeous,
that
they're
it
really
would
nice,
conform. And they
yeah.
Our-
don't
our
have a
code-
Burger King,
Our
they
code
don't
reads
have-
that, our
And they
code
only
reads
have
that.
a Dunkin' Donuts,
Then why
that's
isn't
it.
it enforced? What gives the town board or anybody
Our code right now says you cannot look like any national chain in the town, okay? We don't have any McDonald's or Burger Kings in the town. We have no restaurants that look like that.
So how we've
Oh.
got,
What?
Goshen?
in the
Goshen.
town of
In
Goshen.
the
In
town.
the town of Goshen, the town of Goshen's always
It's
regular.
interesting, because there's the Dunkin'
Stewart's?
Donuts on the plan.
Stewart's was there, you're right. But when was that put in?
Yeah, but
was
Stewart's
before
was
me, I think,
upgraded. No, so remember they redid Stewart's?
No, I don't
So
remember.
that, yeah, you were here.
They added to it back in,
They
after
redid
were
Stewart's.
the
So that
car
they
went
had
through
it
it?
in and then
Oh,
out.
the front, yes, they did.
Remember?
The front they
had
did,
changed
but
that whole
the
thing?
store was always there.
Yeah, but
But
it
the
wasn't
look
like.
of the store
that.
hasn't changed for Stewart's.
No, this,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Also, not a national chain, it's, I don't.
But
know.
anyhow, that's the purpose. Probably the other two that slipped through like that maybe were, Healy.
Oh.
The skinning on theirs was upgraded, and that's probably because of the national push by Ford and whoever's there.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. Interesting.
You know, we don't necessarily,
That's why they had to
we don't
change.
necessarily restrict big boxes, but you can't let it be, but you drive past a big box, even if it's empty, you know that used to be a Home Depot just by the shape or
Yes.
the look of it.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying should not be happening. That is in our code now.
Sustainability, what is the committee looking for?
Well, they haven't given us what they, we need to come up with a report, or study, or suggestions on sustainability, so
I
that,
think that would be like a collaboration of a lot of people's idea.
yes, I think it is. There's no one,
No.
and there's no one topic
And
that's,
then, yeah, then you kind of
that's
put it all
sustainable.
together and
Mhm.
figure out what's gonna work the
and
best.
what is sustainable, and so, look, if we come up with some kind of sustainability, what issues need to be considered for sustainability, I think we can start getting there, and then they can start addressing it, but,
Case in point, let's talk about this, because this ties into this project that I got from National Student Bus, First Bus, whatever it is. They wanna put it on industrial, we've been talking about this, if you didn't get this, it has 32 pages of the one car in, one bus out.
Really?
John, I wanna be there on day one. I truly hope this works for them. I like the applicant, I like their proposal, they were good people, they're a family business, I like them. So I spoke at the public hearing though, and I said, look, if this doesn't work, it's completely on you. Don't wanna hear you complain about anything, because I don't think this is doable at all. But 30 pages,
That's a very
They're-
tough spot.
they're gonna park one in, one car, and one bus, one, and God forbid, somebody comes in the wrong,
Yeah,
the whole thing comes to a screeching halt. So I hope it works, but sustainability, we are allowing, the town board zoning is allowing them to use every square inch of this piece of property. Now, you understand it's industrial, I get it.
it's not every square inch, there is a certain amount of open space. I think they're
I
allowed to
haven't
use.
It's about this
I
much.
think they're allowed to use,
Back there.
I think they're allowed to use 70%, and they're using all 70%.
I can't believe they even left 30, if that 30% is going up that
Yeah, it
grass
is,
hill in the
yes,
back.
it is,
I'd have to measure that, it doesn't feel like dirt, but
Okay.
that said, they're using every square inch.
Yes.
And I don't think.
sustainability is whether or not they can get in and out of onto the 17A.
And we did, of course, we left all this parking in the front, et cetera,
Yeah,
but, sustainability.
good. I'm next. I'd like to put in a motion, protect the roadways and major arterials into the village, like 17A, Sarah Wells Trail, things like that. Way back when, Myron Urbanski wanted 17A, 1,000 feet back, all the way back to the railroad track there, off of,
Go ahead.
he would make that commercial.
Yeah,
Thank God that didn't go through. I mean, thank God that Doug bought it, and the house is there, and Buck Height bought this other
Yeah,
part.
Mhm.
Thank God for that, because that look of that coming into the.
Mhm.
into the
Well, I
village is
think
really
You
good.
talk about keeping our
right.
culture.
Yeah, that and Sarah Wells Trail, I mean, you got some beautiful
Wait,
big
Doug is
houses.
selling his house by Sotheby's, that's like 1,775,000.
Oh, gone down, because I thought he wanted 2 something.
he did.
But
Yeah.
I
But anyway, yeah.
but to make these setbacks, sure, let's not fill them with,
I'm coming back.
let's not fill them with
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, really.
And I think the problem there does become like, somebody owns a piece of property, you can't tell them what not to do.
Yeah,
Have a
you
good
can.
night.
I gotta go, I gotta put my chickens in.
Boy, you don't hear
Leave
that
them
every
out,
day.
though.
You know, yeah, that's not code
The
for anything, is
Already,
it? Is it?
hey, no, the fox has already had his time,
Oh,
so,
it did?
yeah, I'm sick and tired of it.
I gotta go put my
Dogs.
chickens in, I'm gonna try that one next time.
Alright, sustainability is our homework.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously,
Next
time.
very much, we got to define it, use it, and then give them direction on it.
No, I agree.
Absolutely, people, they're very serious about it, and we only have a couple more months on it.
Really?
And they're gonna be heading their comprehensive plan
All
in.
right.
Take care, all of you.
We'll take care. Have a good night. I love your idea,
Well, I mean,
absolutely.
thank God that people have, you know, like.
Can you tell me,
Myron
what was the, I didn't know that Mark owned a piece of property across from Doug.
did- Yeah, what that, he owns Prospect
Yeah,
Hill
yeah.
Farm, the big yellow, he was taking dirt from there, bringing it
Yeah.
here. And he owns, where his family has,
Yeah.
where
The tree farm.
and then he owns, going into the village, into, Pine Island. There's a
So,
horse farm over there. I mean, he got a lot of money tied up in ground that's, I don't know, it's been.
well, I was speaking
God bless him.
with Doug, and he did say that he started to go into, there was a deal that was made, to preserve that ground. Do you know what you're saying that he can't build on it?
Yes.
I think Doug
I think
said
maybe one house.
he could put
That's
one
it,
house.
One house, yeah.
So that's the deal that was made.
When-
That was part of the subdivision.
Yeah,
Okay, you have to go back to the way we do subdivisions
yeah.
is that you must, when you're doing any subdivision, preserve 50% of the land. If you're doing more than 3 lots, if you're doing regulars. So you must, if you have 50 acres, you're gonna preserve 25 acres that cannot be built on. And then you have to get outside of that, you can put houses anywhere or elsewhere. So in that case, usually what you get is you get some weird stuff. You get one small lot usually, or you get everybody gets a 3-acre lot and the back half of each 3-acre lot is unusable.
Okay.
So that's what happens, and we have been doing that,
But
and that over there did.
the development went on the other side of the road tracks coming up, Houston Road there, all those homes in there.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that was cited for like one house on a knoll
Right,
there.
yeah.
So it was.
And the same thing with across the street there, where Feeney did it. That was the same kind of a deal.
Yeah.
50% open space.
Yeah,
From what, and I don't know that is true, I think Doug mentioned, he says he's gonna plant Christmas trees over there. And I thought, if he does that, the guy should get a plaque, because that would be, you talk about sustainability.
He is selling Christmas trees. He did really
he
good
even
this
came
year.
to us and wanted to rent some ground to put more trees in.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't, you
Well, he's got it going up on his farm there, I
know.
mean.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
Fantastic,
God
love
bless
it,
him, yeah.
love it, and you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about
Yeah.
green, you're talking about
His
the
sis-
trees that put oxygen back into
His
the.
sister was on the ERB board, I think, once, way.
His sister?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Not when I've been here.
No,
But yeah.
before that.
Hey,
yeah.
she's a state trooper or something? Involved with state police?
I
Is she?
thought she was in
An investigator maybe or something?
no,
Okay.
I don't know the one girl.
I don't know. I don't know how many there are.
No, her that one.
All right,
Okay.
so, and we did, Grace gave me the student bus, but I don't know that we had it, it wasn't on your agenda?
No, I didn't.
Was this left over?
No, yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way they could make that thing work with 25-30% less buses coming in and out of there every day.
It's serious.
They gotta fill the whole thing up with
When I-
30, whatever.
When I tell you, this is 30 pages of, they start with bus in, bus out, car in, out, and I went through every one of them, and I'm telling you, if somebody, one, spills their coffee on the way to work, they're late and they screw everything up, or
That's right.
if the other guy
Gets
left
sick,
early
yeah.
and whatever,
Yeah.
and he's there early,
Yeah.
the whole system's discombobulated, but I do hope it works for
The
them.
thing is, what they have to do is, don't take the same bus. If you come in earlier than me, you take my bus and I take your
Yeah,
bus.
trouble is it's a different route.
You know, are we all set? We're all done?
I think that's somebody.
If you're waiting for a certain bus to come in and you don't come in on time.
Yeah, no, forget it, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
I told him, I said, any parking tickets you get that are on industrial, just pay the ticket. Don't complain, just pay the ticket, because we told you. All right,